of them. You're wasting all your time and money on models. Paint what you have.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Model Club TV, episode 79. Holy cow. As always, my lovely co-host, Scott Johansson. How are you, sir?
I'm lovely.
Aren't we all lucky you're lovely? Because if you weren't
pretty.
lovely, how terrible this would be.
Oh, it'd be terrible.
It would be terrible. How are you, sir? What's new? What you been doing the last couple weeks?
Been sick. Well, I went to Florida. Have we recorded since I got back from Florida?
Yes. Remember we talked about the hurricane last time?
Yeah.
And how you diverted it?
Well, I did.
Yeah. All right. Anything since you've been
As a
back
matter
from
of
Florida?
fact- Wait, hold on.
Is the UAW strike affecting you, sir?
No,
Okay.
that has nothing to do with me. I mean, it doesn't. It doesn't. You know.
Okay. Gramps is pulling out his phone. See what this is about.
Yeah. Hold on. I want to show you.
Oh boy. We're off to a very exciting start here on episode 79. While Scott scrolls through his phone.
You brought it up. There you
or
go.
Something.
Okay. So, this was my stepdaughter sent this. Okay, the other day. Now I'm going to see if it's focused. See where the blue dot is?
No,
That's my location.
I don't see where the blue dot is.
Hold on.
Is there any? We could have pre-planned this and maybe got an image.
Okay, the blue dot is like right there at my fingertips.
Okay.
So if you were to look at this storm, there you go. There, see the blue dot there?
No.
Look, it's raining everywhere but me. You see what my
You gotta
stepdaughter
get
wrote at the
closer.
bottom?
You gotta get closer.
You see what my stepdaughter wrote at the
No,
bottom?
because now your phone is blacked out. Fucking nope.
Wrote nice work. Okay, anyway, go on.
Yes. Scott controls the weather. Other than controlling the weather, anything new?
I don't control the weather. I divert the weather.
Anything else going on? Did you have some Jersey Fest sadness that we weren't there?
No, I didn't have sadness because I was so fortunate on Friday night to get a call from a bunch of drunken idiots.
I got no of those phone calls. What the heck?
Because nobody likes you.
Oh, yeah. That's
Okay.
right.
So, or maybe they do like you and they don't like me because I was on the phone with these idiots for 45 minutes.
I think you hit
We're gonna
something.
We're gonna put this picture up right here. Of it's not in the slideshow, but I'm gonna give it to you of Paul Gill's foot. Okay.
Oh,
Because
okay.
the Bigfoot conversation got going, and after seeing this picture, I'm not so sure it don't exist. But he definitely needs some work. So anyway, okay, I told you fucking send me something that nasty. I'm gonna put it on here. And
All right, so I will be receiving a foot picture.
Yes, you
Scott has
will.
gone to his phone for the second time in the beginning of
Because
this
damn it,
episode.
I'm sending it to you before I forget it. Oh no, it's not my phone yet. I'll have to get it. Okay, I'll have to get it later. Sorry.
So
Okay.
what did they say? What's the Jersey Fest? I have one email we'll get to in emails about Jersey Fest, but I've seen some pictures. Lots of dealers' stuff look great.
I've talked to people.
Okay.
Talked to a few different people.
You are the man of the people, so you generally have a better
different dealers I've spoken to. And one of the things I heard was that, it wasn't super crowded, but then I heard today there was still a pretty good crowd on Saturday for sure. So I kind of heard, two accounts on that. There weren't a ton of people there, but there were people there. Understand, this show is not Wonderfest, okay? And that's not a slam, okay? This is a smaller regional show that they're trying to grow bigger.
Yeah.
And so, it's not going to have the Wonderfest crowd. That being said, all the dealers I've talked to, and I've talked to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 dealers, we're all happy with their sailors. With their sailors. Well,
did they meet
Mark
sailors?
Worthling was happy with his-
Hey,
Mark
now,
Worthling was happy.
now I'm
with his
going next year. There's sailors.
So,
Hell
but
yeah.
so they were all happy with their sales. So, it was, if there weren't a lot of people there, the people that were there were spending money. So that's good.
Good.
Sunday they had torrential rain from the storm and stuff like that, so that may have kept people away. but people still made some money. I know I and again, I don't want to get in their business too bad, but I did talk to Paul and Mark Worthling, and they both had sales on Sunday. And the gentleman that I printed for had some sales on Sunday and ended up selling everything that I printed for him. So,
Good.
it was, from what I understand, it was good. There was one post that I think the dealer didn't do very well, but I don't think that's a reflection of everyone. I think just he didn't do very well. And,
Okay.
I won't go into who that was, but I'm going to buy some kits from him because he's got a couple things I want. So there you
All
go.
right.
But so
Well,
for the
good.
most part,
Yeah.
I'm hearing good things. Okay.
I hope it continues to grow.
One thing I did hear, and I was asked by a couple people to mention, is this: everyone was treated very well, and it was a very friendly atmosphere. Okay, everybody was friendly, and everybody was had a good time and hung out. So I definitely there was no causing trouble, getting in fights with people. That would be me. No, so again, and honestly, and I'm going to say this, people made me feel bad about not going because there were a lot of people that I think wanted me to be there, and I just couldn't justify it right now. And something else happened in my personal life, which I'm glad I didn't go because I needed to be here. So
Yeah.
we won't go into that, but so it works out. But will I try to go next year? Yeah, I might. Sure.
Yeah.
It's
and I think, like you said, people need to understand it's not Wonderfest. It is a smaller show. They're trying to grow that show. It'd be like if you and I tried to do a show here, it would be very small. And we've talked about it. We have talked about it, but I don't see how it would work. So I'm glad they're trying.
No, I'm very glad they're trying. And I'll support anybody that wants to do something for this hobby for sure.
Yep, for sure. Very cool. Anything else? Anything else new and exciting? I got to see Swans. I'm sure that's why I didn't get to go, because I had tickets to see Swans. Scott, I'm sure, is very familiar with their music.
Yeah, I've got all their work. So I saw a movie.
Oh boy! Oh, here we go. Okay.
This movie was bad enough you might have seen it.
Wait a minute. Can you extend your arm out? Oh, that's what that is. I'm fixing this right now. Fixed everything. I knew that was weird. I kept seeing your arm showing up on the other side of the screen. All right, Scott, what movie did you see, sir?
I saw. Tell me if you've seen this. I don't know. It's called A House on the Bayou.
I am not.
So,
what is the premise? Is this a Johansson recommendation?
No, I know. Okay. It was just one of those. It roped me in enough. This guy comes home from work. His wife has caught him cheating, and she's real calm about it. So the first thing my wife says to me, she says, "Yeah, don't think I'd ever be this calm about it," and starts talking about chopping parts of me off, which
oh man,
which make it not worth it. So they go to this. They decide they're going to go on this vacation. And I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but it was, I don't know. It was kind of a weird. I've seen worse movies.
Who's in this movie?
I'm just wondering.
Who's in it? Paint a picture for it. Like, what actor is?
Nobody that I ever heard of.
Oh, okay.
So it's one of those.
I'll find an image and throw it up here.
House in the Bayou.
All right.
It came out in Paul Schneider? Yeah, I don't know.
Well, thanks for the movie update. I'm impressed that you watched a movie, and I'm glad you brought it up.
So this is from 2021, and House on the Bayou follows a troubled couple and their daughter who go on vacation to an isolated house in Louisiana Bayou to reconnect as a family. But when unexpected visitors arrive, the unity starts to unravel.
Ooh, okay.
It says horror, mystery, thriller. So,
we'll give Johansson a movie to watch, or a movie recommendation.
Wow. Featured review says 7 out of 10. An Internet Movie Database. And let's see, user reviews. Does it give you a wow, 8 out of 10, 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10? All right. So if I was grading this movie,
Yeah, what'd you do? Out of 10, what are you giving it?
I would say it's a 6 out of 10. Yeah, I think 6 out of 10.
All right.
Um,
All right, everybody. We're having some technical difficulties. Buttons aren't working that well. So if your button doesn't show up today, it's who knows? If you want to send us an email, it is modelclubtv@gmail.com. Modelclubtv@gmail.com. If you want to send us a voicemail, I'm having to manually do these. Send us a voicemail. It's 708-816-4299. 708-816-4299. And we have Discord linked down below. And the other links are down there too. If you want to get our model kit, print that on your own. Someone messaged me wanting one in 1/6 scale. I am only offering the small, which is pretty small, and then about 9 inches. So if you would like that, there's other people you can do it or have someone else print it. Later on, maybe I'll do it in 1/6, but as of right now, I'm just offering the 2 smaller sizes. So, but if you want to do it yourself, the files are there. Anyway, Scott, why'd it get brighter in your room? What happened?
I got the TV on.
Oh.
It's kind of cool though. Look how it's flashing.
You look like you're like one of them little like YouTuber kids now.
House on the bayou.
All right, we have a giveaway. You ready?
Turn it off.
Since things aren't working.
No, I want to say something real quick about the email.
Go ahead.
Okay. The email is also for you to send your photographs in for the gallery. Okay.
For the gallery and for
your
new stuff.
products. Okay. So there you go. Okay. Go ahead. Giveaway.
It is, I'm going to piggyback on that. It is very hard for me to try and gather everything. So if you want something specifically on the show, and we're not aiming this comment at anybody, I don't want anyone, just please send it to me. It's a lot easier than me scouring 50 different places. All right, we have our giveaways. Scott, tell me when to stop shuffling. This is from, thank you again, Mark. Let me get these up here. Mark of Mark's Hobby Bench. Thank you, sir, for sending these in. We have our Blackheart pieces. 3 of them. So if you want these for yourself, head over to Blackheart Enterprises. Link will be down below. There's the Mandalorian. There's the Grogu head. It's all right there. You get all 3, kid. And tell me when to stop. It's
not Baby Yoda. It's Grogu.
It is Grogu. Scott, tell me when to stop shuffling. Oh, real quick. If you entered and you do not see your name on here, that is because if you won in the last 3 episodes, I took your name out so that more people have a chance. So that's where we. Scott, tell me when to stop shuffling. I'm stopping shuffling.
Well, if you're stopping shuffling, what do I gotta
tell me? Just tell me when.
Now.
All right, spinning. And let's see who gets the 3 busts. It is Scale Model HQ. This is for you. So Scale Model HQ, send me an email at modelclubtv@gmail.com. And again, buttons are broke. Send us an email. We'll get these out to you. Thank you, Mark. I hope you're doing well. And send me an update. Love to hear from you. And our next giveaway for next episode from Paul Gill of Gillman Productions, and the buttons are broke. We have from Jesse Goodwin, his Neanderthal kit. You can see right here what it looks like all painted up. This is a beautiful paint job. The kit right here, I want to get this on here. So let me get back over to just us. It is one solid, I think it's hollow, maybe a little bit. It is hollow. But this, it's one of those I don't want to give away. Because this is a great painter's piece. It's prepped, ready to go, and there's so much character built into this face, sculpted in there, that it screams ready to be painted. And at this picture, if you look over here at this,
do we know who painted this?
I'm assuming it was Jesse Goodwin who painted this. But
it almost looks like there's stubble on there.
I know. And I have a feeling it's just tiny little white dots to make it look like that. Because holy cow, what a great paint job. So up for grabs.
Neanderthal.
Neanderthal.
Man, I gotta get kudos to Paul too, because
yeah. Holy cow.
I don't know how long those molds are gonna last in that mouth, because
Yeah.
that's a big cavity right there.
Yeah. It's really, really nice. And then, well, the cavity that's there is actually his tongue is in there. So it's not a straight hole all the way back. But this is a great piece. Anyone who get this, like, I don't want to give it up. So what we're going to do is you're going to say, what? I don't know. What are we saying there?
We're going to say
comments to get entered into the kit. Scott,
in the comments, I want you to say, I love that Neanderthal Paul.
All right. I love that Neanderthal Paul.
Or just Neanderthal Paul, because it's got a nice ring.
It
just
totally does.
Neanderthal Paul. Okay.
Very good. So there we have it. There you can see it again.
That's what he gets for sending me a picture of his nasty foot. Okay.
Oh man. All right. Continuing on with the rest of the show. We have 2 giveaways. And first up, news and reviews, Scott. First up from Goodfellas Resin. This is one of those things I went and grabbed today. Goodfellas Resin presents you Tech Noir. And if you think back to my most wanted garage kits, this was one of them. Still waiting for that full figure, but this is a bust I may have to settle for. Our companion piece to Kyle. We brought 10 of them to Jersey Fest and they were all gone. The reception we had to him was great, as everyone loved the likeness to Arnold and the overall feel of his arm, the texture on his jacket, and the base made to look like the Club Tech Noir where they battled it out. Kit comes with Arnold, arm with gun, laser sight, base, 2 bottles to be placed on the base, and Tech Noir sign as seen in the movie. The kit is $120 plus shipping. So head on over to Goodfellas Resin, but I do want to show you some of these pictures. This, sculpted by Jeff Yeager. And what a perfect likeness of Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is fantastic.
This is from the first movie?
From the first movie, when he goes into the Tech Noir Club Tech Noir, and shoots up the place. I really, really, really like this piece. And it goes right along with their Kyle, the other one from Terminator. And it's dead on. It's awesome. Well done, Goodfellas Resin. Really, really cool piece. And I'm glad it did well for you at Jersey Fest. Well done. Cool stuff. And you could do a lot of really cool lighting effects with the sign. With the sign, you could do a lot of cool lighting effects. Do some neon painting on there. See if you can pull that off with some glow. That would look awesome. But well done, Goodfellas. Check them out. Links below. Goodfellas Resin. All right. Up next, we have.
This is a Jeff Yeager signature piece.
Jeff Yeager signature piece.
And this is going to be I think the first in a series. And this is, I can't remember. Maybe there was one. So someone out there that's a better historian than me can clarify. If anyone has ever sculpted the Blind Hermit.
Only once, you think?
Only once, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe not. Maybe this is the first time. So, this is a Jeff Yeager signature piece. I believe it's going to be $150. If I'm wrong, don't kill me. Contact Paul, because he'll be doing the casting for these. And the reason it's called a signature piece is on the back. Jeff has included a signature piece. And that's kind of cool. I like the way he sculpted it all the way around. It's not super like you miss anything if you don't see the back of it, but yet it's cool.
Yeah.
A nice piece. Call Paul Gill, or not call Paul. Well, yeah, call Paul. Whatever you want to do. I don't care. You need Neanderthal. But he did tell me tonight the first 40 of these are sold already. So wow. I don't know how many they're going to make. But get on the list if you're interested.
On the list.
But
it's great likenesses there.
Every time I see the Hermit, I look at it and go, "No, it's supposed to be Gene Hackman." Because
I was thinking the same thing.
Okay, and I think that will eventually come from another producer. But
yeah, I was thinking the same thing. That's funny.
But that was the best spoof, I think, in Young Frankenstein. The spoof of the Hermit.
Yeah.
Visit from the Bride of Frankenstein. It was perfect. So
Awesome.
anyway, next from
Yeah.
Mark Van Tine.
Yeah,
and
sculpted by Mark Van
production
Tine. 1/3 scale, and this is third in the series.
is Lon Chaney as the Phantom,
Playing the piano. Or the organ. Sorry.
the organ. And this is really cool. This is a really cool piece. But yeah, this piece has been in the making for a while. I've known about it, but I just first saw the photos this week, and this is part of their series. Mark did a Cheney Frankenstein and a Karloff Mummy a while back, and they've now revisited this series with a Phantom.
Yeah, and this I think debuted at Jersey Fest as well. Was the debut. So I
this
think
one is 150. I know that this one is 50.
Yeah. Okay.
So hit up Paul to get on the list for that. And
contact information will be in the notes of the show.
The notes of the show.
But yeah, no, it's a really I really like the detail in his hands. Those hands look great.
So, and what do we have next up?
Up next, hold on.
What's his company's name again? Retro Go-Go?
Nostalgic Resin Production.
Yeah, that's it. Nostalgic Resin Productions. This is his second release. And
the Night Stalker.
Night Stalker, Carl Kolchak. And I think they finally finalized the sculpt. I know they worked on the head a little bit, but there it is.
Yeah. He's got two that's fast.
Yeah.
Two releases back to back. And it's really, really nice. The picture here with his hand holding the head on, I really, really like that. That's a cool. Just classic feel to it.
There you go.
So yeah, head up over to Facebook, Nostalgic Resin Productions. Find all the information there. Links again. So
and happy anniversary,
David. Oh yeah, and happy anniversary, Mr. Horvath.
Yeah, it was their anniversary today. And
up next,
he's put up with them for this long. But yeah, when you have 15 kids, I guess you got to keep the breadwinner. I don't know.
Up next, Sweet Life Productions. Scott, take it away.
Johnny Ringo, you look like someone stepped on your grave. The second from their Tombstone series, Johnny Ringo. And this is the first time I've seen this. And so they did a really good job of keeping this under wraps. It's not available just yet, but it's going to be.
And I want to give them kudos as well. It's the first time I've seen it as well. Keeping something under wraps is very hard these days, and well done. Because wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and the likeness is awesome. It's I love it. I love both these pieces. The Doc Holliday is still available. The Johnny Ringo, I love both of these.
And there's something new there going on.
Yeah, that's actually been out a while, and for some reason, I don't know that we
did not cover it. We did not. That they released a smaller version.
And what's that? Oh, of the Doc Holliday?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I knew that we talked they were going to, and it looks like they're going to do the same thing with the Johnny Ringo.
Very cool. For people who like smaller stuff, it goes to exactly what you've said many, many times. Utilize your sculptures.
Well, not to mention, and I forgot what they charged for the bust, but the busts are more expensive, and they're big. They're quarter scale.
Yeah.
And there were people that were kind of like, well, I like it, but I don't know if I like it for that much money. Well, so you have an option, get a smaller one.
Yep.
It's the same exact sculpt, just smaller.
Yep.
And again, this is what digital will do. And for those that are naysayers on digital sculpture, I got to say, look at these two things and tell me that they're, no, that's as good as any garage kit likeness I've ever seen sculpted traditionally too.
Yeah.
And I'm not bashing it. I'm just saying.
And then they also have coming.
I think this is out already.
This
is, and we've not covered this. Champagne Dreams.
Yep. I think we did a long time ago, but this is it.
Did
First
we?
time seeing it painted as well. So here we go. Marilyn Monroe.
So all right,
Really nice piece as well. More of that classic kind of just Hollywood stuff, which is I
love that stuff. Yeah,
Yes.
no, yeah.
That seems to be making like not a comeback because it really was never there, but gaining some popularity between David, what David's doing with some classic stuff. This is some classic stuff. Just your classic people.
It's not
actors.
the same old classic.
And it's not the same old stuff.
Monsters.
Yep.
Okay, so there you go.
Really nice piece. Really good likeness. A lot of like life in this piece, and I like how it's cut too. Like it's just very simple and elegant, which is what it should be. Not all over the place. So well done here, guys. Sweet Life. Contact info down below.
My main man.
Take it away while I push buttons.
Meep, this is his Roadrunner piece, and I love it. A couple things on this I maybe had a hand in, but
so I don't understand one part of it. His
what
leg,
don't you understand?
Is that going to be clear? Like how? What does that piece look like? You know what I mean? I'm clicking through
just that circle, and yeah, you could print it clear and tint it, but yeah, it's or you could just paint it white. And
I'd like to see what that piece is just sculpted like. Man, it is so nice, so dynamic. It's exactly what it should be. You know,
what worries me about this piece is, will the coyote stay up, stretched out like that? Will he sag over time?
That is a very good point.
Oh, that is a little scary. The good news is you can just print another one and put it on there when he does.
Yeah.
If he does. So, it's hard to say. You know, it's not going to be very heavy, so maybe it won't. You know, when you really look at the coyote's skinny. So
right.
But it's a cool piece.
But you're right. Over time, things do tend to sag. I mean, if there's what I'm seeing, you could do some drool that touches his tail, or like the tongue touch the tail just barely or something to kind of have it support itself. But man, what a great piece. It's one of those that, like, again, you wouldn't see this 10 years ago at all. It's so good to see it now. No. And then also from Winner, into Jason's wheelhouse, Sheila from Dungeons & Dragons, the animated series, and it is a companion piece to Bobby, which will be coming out, and I have a feeling they're going to have this huge base with all the characters. But man, I already have it downloaded, just like the other one, ready to go. And wow. Well, keep it up. Keep doing stuff like this. Great ideas. Great stuff. All right. And up next, Scott, what is this?
We showed a few of these.
Yep.
But this is the whole set together. And this is the Anthill Mob.
It's all the mobsters.
There they are, from the Wacky Races and the Perils of Penelope Pitstop.
Very cool.
And he asked me, he says, do you understand what those bases are? And I go, yeah, they're poker chips. So he wasn't sure everybody was going to get that, but
they almost look like film reel canisters, but until you see the dollar sign.
Yeah.
And then the line.
Anyway, it's the Anthill Mob, and there might be another piece coming, companion piece to that.
Okay. So. I think I've seen it. There is a limo coming, like the car.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then the next one is Brutus. This is part of that. What's the name of the cartoon now? I'm drawing a blank, but it's from later. It's like a Hercules type thing that came out later. And then he just posted a picture of all the characters he did from this. On a diorama base. So,
neat.
You know, and again, I look at this guy's work and it's just phenomenal. And I just got done printing a piece of his. I'm working on another one. And I found a problem with a piece that this is probably a 2-year-old piece, a year-old piece.
Get closer to your mics, Mr. Lazy.
So I found a problem with a piece. And, you know, again, and we're going to touch on this with Mr. Berglund. I got a hold of him and he like fixed it right away. And it's some of these people, some of these Patreons you deal with, whatever, man, you ask them to fix something, it's like,
Yeah.
well, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. But well is awesome. So
All right.
there you go.
From Pestilence Labs. I got a lot to read here.
Want me to do it?
I'll do it. New kit for the Creature from the Black Lagoon purists. Meet the Polywog. Digitally sculpted by Michael Berglund, who is our guest this episode, and we forgot to ask him about this. And prototype prints by Mr. Ed Bradley. I guess I'm not good enough anymore. This is a one. What?
Me neither.
Yeah. Wow. Ed. Good job, Ed. This is a 1/6 scale multimedia kit that will be available soon. Target price is $135 plus shipping. Here is a great bio on the piece by sculptor Michael Berglund. This is a hybrid resin 3D printed kit that comes in 11 pieces, including clay lumps and sculpting tools. The kit stands at 12 inches high. A deluxe 18-inch 1/1 replica size kit is in the works. The studio actually built a suit based on this sculpt and tested it underwater with Julie Adams. Upon viewing the footage, one studio exec was said to have exclaimed, "Well, that sucked. We're screwed." And I could see why. It would be terrible. But I think for anyone who's a huge Creature from the Black Lagoon fan, this is like right up there and something really cool to have. So there's a lot more. If you want to read more about the background on this piece, head over to Pestilence Labs Facebook group. And there's a big long post about it there. There's some, I think what they've done with this, with the tools that you're going to get with it and some clay lumps, it'll make for a really cool display piece. So well done, everybody involved. Is this something you'll like put on?
I will not. I'm a purist and I'm not a
Completist.
So
this would be for your purist completist.
Yes.
Black Lagoon people.
It's okay. It's just not up my alley.
Oh yeah, no, it's a great piece. I'm not.
And if you see the photos, it's actually dead on. So.
Yeah, and I think the 1-to-1 scale thing to actually make it look like the sculpture that was being worked on is a great idea. And I think even reading down into some of more that was written, they purposely made it look like a clay sculpture with tool marks and other things in there. So it looks like it's actually being worked on, which I can't think of another time that's been done outside of like the King Kong armature, like something that is supposed to kind of look like the thing. Exactly. Not the creature. So,
and I'm going to go so far as to say I'm glad the final product didn't look like this. So.
I know. Could you imagine
how
different the world would be if this was?
So think about that. How many Creature from the Black Lagoon kits are out there? And how many wouldn't be out there if this was the way?
If this was the creature, just that would never have become what it is at all. So, all right, what's the next thing here, Scott?
I've discovered a new artist. Okay. And so this gentleman's name is Todd Rex. Okay. You can find him on Facebook. You can go to his photos and you can look at his work.
Could you spell the last name for us?
R-E-X. Rex. Okay. And so what happened is, and our slides are a little out of order. So if you go to the bottom slide first, and you can put them back in this order. I saw somebody purchased this mummy bust at Jersey Fest. And I saw this thing and I said, "Oh my God, that's beautiful." And I'm like, so I asked who did this?
That is a nice mummy.
And our listener, Joe Bello, who thought we were boring last episode, by the way, I don't think we forgot you.
Get ready for this episode, Joe.
Yeah. We're going to bore you. Hold on, I'm fixing that stuff. So anyway, Joe Bello told me who sculpted it. And I went to the gentleman's Facebook page and started looking through the photos. And I got a hold of him, and I actually have one of these coming my way.
What was the price?
I paid $110 plus shipping. And not even sure the scale, but it's really a nice looking piece. I don't know.
That is a really good mummy. That is a really good mummy.
And then if you go, he's also.
So I'm just going to go backwards from that since you put these out of order and didn't.
So he's done 3: a Creature from the Black Lagoon and a Frankenstein monster. and they're really, really nice. Here's the Frankenstein, the bear sculpt uh, piece. I believe he sells them painted and unpainted.
Okay.
And then this is another piece he did. I don't know what it is, but it's kind of
Like
cool. Kind of a
his own
creature
version of
looking-
the creature, maybe.
yeah, better than a polywog. I mean, but still not as good. Nothing beats the original creature design. Again, I'm not knocking Mark's kid. I'm just saying the polywog wouldn't have made the popularity that.
And then what's this mummy casket?
So this
thing?
mummy, I wanted to show how big this mummy was, so I'm showing him painting it. This is a good size. And the reason I'm saying, I believe he told me these were all 110, but I'm not 100% sure, so contact him. He did a whole line of these super deforms. Kind of.
Oh, okay.
So he did this mummy, did the Wolfman, notice the poop
Yeah.
in the background. Here's a set of the 4 of them. But, it looks like they're good size.
Yeah.
And I really like the mummy. I'll probably get the mummy. That'll be my next mummy super deformed, or the monster.
What's his
bust.
name again? Just so people.
Todd Rex.
Okay.
And you can see some of his other work too. I believe he works for an special effects place or an FX place.
What's going on? You gonna drink the whole episode again?
I got a dry throat, so sorry. You've been on sick before. No one says nothing to you. You think you saw Bigfoot. Anyway.
No, Bigfoot saw me.
This is seems like a really good guy. And he was really glad to get my business. I guess he's out on strike. So he must be part of that union. Yeah. And so the money helps. So
awesome.
Check him out.
But yeah, check him out, guys. Everybody. That mummy is
that mummy bus is beautiful. Sweet. Karloff, if you ask me.
I agree. So, completely.
A lot of people have asked me about when are you going to do that foam issue. Okay.
Issue? You mean video?
Or video.
Yeah.
And, again,
for the record, I knew you were never going to do it, but go ahead.
I wouldn't say never going to do it. So I saw somebody carving out of what looked like balsa foam, but it was a recent post. So I said to the guy, I said, hey, where did you get that? Is it old stock? And he said, it's going to blow you away. No. Green Stuff World sells it.
Really?
So I went to Green Stuff World, and they do sell phenolic carving foam in different, let's see, this one's 4 millimeters that I'm looking at.
Are they tiny little pieces, though?
No, they're 8.5 by 11 pieces. Okay. And there's 3 different thicknesses, I believe. Looking right now. There's an A5, an A4, and okay, so the there's a 4 millimeter. What size are those? Those are smaller. Okay. So those are, and I'd have to do the conversion, but 148 by 210 millimeter. Okay. So those are smaller pieces. Okay. And then there's and then the other 2 are both 210 by 297, which is about 8 by 11.
Really? Okay.
All right. And
how expensive is this?
$5. $5 for a piece, which is balsa foam. That's about balsa foam. You get 2 pieces for $10.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Check out Green Stuff World. They're having a 10% sale right now on it.
All right.
And I think I might order one of each. And does this stuff come from another country?
Yes. Sometimes it does. Yes.
So you're going to eat the shipping.
Yep.
Okay. All right. But it is out there. So,
okay.
And it's probably because it's toxic and they can't sell it in this country, but they can make it and sell it. So who knows? Yeah.
Or maybe like people could ask, like if your local hobby game store stocks Green Stuff World stuff, maybe ask and see if they can order it for you. So the shipping goes with them. I don't know. We'll check it out. Cool.
But check it out. I was pretty shocked. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Up next, we have our guest, Michael Berglund. Michael's been on the show before, but we brought him back for a special reason. That's because him and Scott have been working on something. And Scott, you want to announce it now or wait for people to watch the...
Well, watch the episode. You'll see it. I think we've hinted at it.
Okay.
But we'll talk about it after when we get back.
Excellent.
Here he is.
We are back with Michael Berglund. How are you, sir?
Great, thank you. Happy to be here.
Have you started your journeys for the winter yet?
No, next Monday we do.
Okay, where do you head?
Monday. Well, we should maybe let people know some context here. As an artist guy, it's kind of strange, but sold my house a year ago, and so I'm living in a trailer. And what you call a digital nomad, because my day job is graphic design and illustration, and just decided when I was going to be 100% remote, why don't I go really remote? So in the summertime, we're up in Minnesota, and yeah, we're going to start heading south, go to Arizona, California, down into Baja, Mexico, and hang out. And somehow or another, dude, besides graphic design, digital sculpting, and I don't have any 3D printers with me currently, but it's been a bit of a challenge to be an artist and be on the road at the same time, but it's working. I've got Starlink, I've got Wi-Fi hotspots, and life is good.
So far, so good. That's awesome. Like, how good of a computer do you have to do all that stuff, or is it just kind of your laptop suffices? Or
yeah, I've got a Microsoft Surface Book 3, and that's about 2 years old. They don't make them anymore. I was just reading an article about the Surface line is kind of going downhill, but I've got a graphics tablet. This laptop has been completely powerful. Yeah.
I was actually thinking about getting one of those. No.
Huion is what I have right now. I used to have a Wacom, but now the trailer's big enough that I got a little space that it can be my office all the time. I've got 2 monitors set up, and so far so good. Lots of external hard drive space, and I can pretty much work and so pretty much everything that I've created for the past couple of years has been on my laptop on the road, it's pretty cool.
That's very liberating. And instead of being tied, I think a life I would like to live one day.
It's a different set of problems, right? Yeah. So you think, oh, I'm free of all of this stuff. And, the other day I was working and somebody came up to us in the park that we're staying and said, you have to leave because we were overbooked. So I've never been kicked out of my own house before. There was a booking error. So there's challenges trying to find a place to be, and that kind of a thing. But it's a lot of fun, and we're seeing an awful lot of places, traveling around. And, I just sort of thought to myself, there was a day last winter when work was really difficult and it really sucked, but we're parked on a beach in Mexico. So I'm like, how bad can this be? Will we do this forever? No, but my wife and I like to mountain bike and hike and just kind of be in the outdoors. And so this lets us do that. And it's just insane that I can be doing the kind of graphic design and package design that I'm doing. I work for video game companies, so I do package design for PlayStation, Xbox, and all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of absurd that I can be out in the middle of nowhere working on all these video game releases and digital monsters and sculptures and things like that. So it's pretty fun.
I need to ask you a question when we're not live, when we're not recording, about that.
So just a brief history. You've always been, if I remember right, you've always been aware of the Garage Kit community.
Yeah.
You knew George Stevenson a long time ago, correct? If I remember, trying to go back to the episode I should have watched before we did this, but I never watch him.
You never watched it in the first place.
Yeah. So, I'm an Aurora model kit guy. That's where that all started. And I had them all in a box. And then I met a fellow in college, and we started a special effects company. And when I had a shop space and we were doing special effects for TV commercials and feature films in Minnesota, I brought all my old Aurora models out and I was refurbishing them. And just like, hey, I'm an adult now, I can take all of the red enamel paint off the mummy and kind of paint him to look really cool. So the model kit thing has always been part of who I am. George might have been like early 90s, 1990 or something. He opened the yellow pages in Minnesota under special effects, and there was our company. We're like the only one. And so he called us up and he was like, hey, I need some people to do molding and casting. Do you guys know silicone and urethane? And yeah. So we knew George right from almost the really early days of geometric design. I think he'd done the Cyclops and maybe Amy from Fright Night and Teenage Werewolf. And we did the original molding and casting for the Pumpkinhead kit that he did. And I just kind of started, I did the Fright Night Bat back in the day. And so we started our relationship way back then. Knew nothing about garage kits at that time, but of course, you know, he's getting into it and building it. So for many years, we did a lot of the molding and casting and some sculpture and design work for him. And then later on, our company built his vinyl casting equipment for geometric design when he got into the vinyl stuff. And so just been years and years and years. But that having been said, it had been many years since I was involved in this hobby and went on to do other things. I ended up being a creative director for a brewery. So I was doing beer labels for 10 years and that kind of thing. And eventually I started taking pictures of my Aurora kits just for the heck of it, sent some to George, and he's like, why aren't you sculpting anymore? Like, I don't know. He goes, okay, start sculpting something for me. And so that was, 4 or 5 years ago. And he kind of pushed me back into this again. I started to do some work for him. He made some introductions, and it all leads to, you fine gentlemen.
Yeah.
We're sorry.
We're sorry.
Yeah.
So you're on the downhill now.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you
exactly.
you're on the downhill now. So it's
Yep.
Well,
So
and I know when we had you on before, you had started that the Aurora bus line, which now Todd at Escape Hatch is handling.
Yep.
And recently, I think this last Wonderfest, you had done the Ferocious Females. And you want to talk a little about that? What inspired that, or where the idea came from? And
so Todd and I, right about the time we were thinking about selling our house, because I had made this Spring Heel Jack Gold Key Comics character kit and was working on these busts, and I was just self-distributing, people would order kind of thing. And I realized I'm not going to be able to do that anymore. And I really liked Escape Hatch's vibe and kinds of things that they've done. And it seemed like it'd be a good match. I said, hey, do you want to pick this up and do you want to sell it? And he said yes. And he took that on and said, not only would he sell them, but he would do casting and molding and fulfillment, all that. And it was a dream come true for me to have that. And Todd has been a magnificent partner to have in doing those sorts of things. So the other cool thing about it is sometimes he says, hey, I'd like to see this. And sometimes he says, what do you want to make? And I think my place in this industry and this business is I'm always looking for different approaches to things, more conceptual than anything. There's so many sculptors that I admire that I just think, man, they can sculpt rings around me. But what I can come up with is wacky ideas or what hasn't been done before. In this industry, there's so many fantastic sculptures that already exist, and there's fantastic sculptors working. So where I feel like I can maybe make a difference is to try to find something different, something that hasn't been done before, and take risks. 3D printing also allows us to do that because theoretically, we can sell one. You don't have to invest in molding and casting. And so it allows me to be fanciful in what I wanted to do. The Ferocious Females line are female monsters that are intended to kind of be companions for the Aurora monsters. What if the wolf had bitten Evelyn Ankers and the Wolfman instead of Lon Chaney Jr., and she would be every bit as ferocious. So this is another thing. A lot of people like the girl kits, and a lot of people like the sexy monster girl kits, but I like monsters. And so I thought, I don't want this to be, Wolfman with boobs. That's not the point. I want another ferocious kind of a monster character. So I've done the Wolf Woman, Countess Dracula. That's like, what if Dracula was a woman and she was just this noble woman that turned into the queen of vampires. And what else did we do? Then the other two are not strictly Aurora. We did the Wasp Woman, was Todd's idea, and she's proved to be incredibly popular. And I also have a thing for really, really bad monsters, really awful. I mean, if you see the movie, she's got this awful wig on and a couple of styrofoam balls and pipe cleaners sticking out of her head, and I just love that. And so I've got a few more monsters coming out that are just really some of the worst monsters ever made. One of the worst, most terrible design and execution. And I like that. Somebody actually commented when we came up with the Wasp Woman that there's something about a model kit that even if the monster or the movie isn't very good, the model kit kind of works, right? Yeah. It's just kind of fun to have that. So the Wasp Woman is that. And then I did a companion to Spring Heel Jack, John Bell's Devil Witch, which was another comic that just scared the crap out of me when I was little, and I've never gotten it out of my head. And I'm like, hey, I want to do that one too. So I've got a few more in the works. And the idea is, between Todd and I, he's really willing to take risks. Like I said, I don't know if anybody's going to want a ferocious female. Do they like girl kits because they like girls, or do they like monsters? How are these going to do? And the good news is these first 4 have done pretty well. So well enough to make us think, yeah, let's do some more of these. If they didn't do really well, Todd and I's partnership is such that, we kind of split the risk going in. Mm-hmm. He doesn't buy a sculpture from me. I just say, I'm going to do this. And he says, I'll produce it and I'll distribute it. And we divvy things up after the cost of materials. It means that he doesn't have to, debt to try crazy things. I'm going into debt in terms of my investment in the sculpture and the time. And he's doing, so we're both at risk, and we both, reap rewards if they do well.
Seems pretty fair.
It's allowed us to try some a little bit crazier things,
If anyone's interested in any of this stuff that we're showing, Escape Hatch Hobbies, all the information will be down below. And it's a great website too. Like, he's doing some really cool stuff.
All kinds of fun stuff on.
Yeah, it's a cool thing to browse through.
The design of it, and Todd's been doing this for a long time. He's truly invested in a lot of the same things that I'm really excited about. He's been doing a great job, and I've had the great fortune to partner with fantastic human beings in this, and that started with George, and then it's gone on to Todd, to Scott McKillop of Monarch Models, Mark Worthling, and these have been really good people that have treated me well, and I've had a lot of fun working with them. So,
well, that Worthling's got deep pockets, so you just keep rolling the charges out of him. So.
I think what really sets these pieces apart, though, is your artwork as well. Your box design that you did for these, the Aurora style box that you did with some of those, and just the general look and the background work you did on all of them really sets it apart from a lot of releases that come out. So kudos on that as well.
I appreciate that. That was another part of the whole, it took me 5 minutes to explain what I'm trying to do with ferocious females. But if you show them the box art, then people go, oh, it's one of those. Yeah. And, so it helps to tell the story and helps to contextualize everything. Because otherwise somebody might just go, well, why does that even exist? I think and to me, everybody, as you know, that loves the Aurora kits, the box art is almost as much, that gets almost as much love as the kits themselves. So I wanted to evoke that. And it's been I made some boxes for Wonderfest. It has been a quest to try to find a way to get boxes made in the quantities that will work for garage kits, right? So I didn't want to have the cardboard box with the printed piece of paper on it. There's a reason why boxes are that way, because you can't get less than 500 or 1,000. And 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 it adds $5 or $10 to the cost of a kit to have those things made. So the boxes that I made at Wonderfest are all handmade. I took those to a printer, cut them out, folded them. My wife helped. We glued and taped the whole thing because that was important to me to have that be a part of it.
Yeah.
Going forward, how much do I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it helps to tell the story, and I like them. I think I will always do a piece of artwork that goes along with the stuff. Currently, we'll sell a poster of the piece because we're out of all the boxes that we made right now. But I appreciate the fact that you brought that up because, Todd was like, why do we need to do that? And I said, because he went, oh, that makes sense. Like, this is going to help explain what we're doing and why these things exist. So
for sure. And that, I think it's those little touches. They're going to get people to buy a 3D printed kit when they're like, oh, this isn't a resin. This isn't your true resin kit, but you're making something extra. And I think even including that piece of artwork, even if you don't do the box going forward, is that kits are like for someone to actually go out and buy a kit, including things like that, are really going to help with a sale and give you feel like you have something special instead of just a box of parts or a bag of parts that come in the mail.
Yeah.
This Hey Mom look has been all over the place. I've talk about this, how'd this idea come about? One of those really cool pieces that comes around once in a while.
Well, thanks. This is another one of those things, looking for something different, right? Something that hasn't, and so this is all concept, right? I was just browsing, our internet forums that all of us go to all the time, and that Monster Makeup magazine popped up again, and it just brought this whole flood of memories of me as a kid getting that magazine, and just the whole world that opened up for me in terms of like, oh my gosh, you can go to the pharmacy and get cotton balls and latex and make yourself look disgusting, and it answered so many questions. I write I wrote a little essay that goes along with it. And I said, a lot of monster kids and model kit kids are not just horror fans or sci-fi fans, but we're builders, right? And part of seeing these creatures was not just like, that's the coolest thing. But for me, it was like, how do they do that? How do they do that? How did King Kong move? How does, how does Frankenstein look the way that he does? And that book came out and it answered the question of, this is how you do that. So to me, that was a meaningful thing. I saw the book and I don't know. I just sort of thought all this memories of my childhood flooded over me. And I thought, this is how everybody feels. If I did a kit that is about how I feel when I look at all of this old stuff, that was the beginning of it. And I was working on the kit myself, kind of almost getting a little teary-eyed. Just remember being a kid and bringing that out. And I just sort of I thought, why wouldn't people like that? Or maybe more importantly, it's like, I like that. Let's see if other people do as well. So it's that moment of that, harassing the poor mom, with whatever. Not only did the kid say, you have to drive me to get these ingredients, and then he does that, and probably mom's friends are coming over, and she's like, how am I going to explain this to my friends that I have a weird kid? But to try to capture that spirit, and hopefully, like you said, it's been everywhere. It's selling kind of okay. I was thinking it was going to kind of go nuts, but you never know, right?
Right.
And maybe it will. Now that it's on this show, this is the show that sells.
We'll get you two more.
Right?
Exactly. It's going to take off. It's like a rocket.
So yeah, it's a tribute to monster kids, and I got a couple others in the works in this sort of vein. If this one does really well, just because I'm having fun doing it, again, I think.
You and Scott, I think you and Scott are about the same age, right? 60.
I'm super young.
Okay.
No. Yeah, so, 60, exactly.
But yeah, so it made me like, what's my moment? Because I didn't have that magazine. I had that magazine as a kid, but that's not where I went to kind of learn, like, how was this made, or what thing that inspired me. And it made me just think, it was the making of the Dark Crystal special that was on TV. And it was like, I would just watch that movie over and over. And I think it was probably the same feeling you had with that magazine. Was like, oh my God, that's how they're doing this. That's how they're making the puppets. That's how they're painting these creatures. You actually you could have a job doing that. And it was like,
Yes.
it just unlocked all this whole new world for me. And it's probably the same feeling you got.
And I think there's a lot of, like I said, the people that I meet and talk to at Wonderfest and these things, there's a shared interest in that. People love the behind the scenes stuff and how
Yeah.
does this, because we're model makers, we're people that make things. And certainly, as we know, there's people in the makeup and effects industry, there's model builders that work in the film industry, there's directors that are also model kit builders.
Yeah.
So there's a commonality there. And that particular magazine and Famous Monsters launched the careers of a lot of makeup effects artists. I think if you talk to somebody like Rick Baker, for example, he'd say, yep, Dick Smith for sure. That magazine.
I was going to say that. I think there's pictures of a young Rick Baker with that magazine.
Yeah.
That I've seen over the years. So it's
and the Famous Monsters used to have these little pictures of, we want more readers like this. And I think like Alec Gillis and Tom Woodruff, who made Aliens and whatever, got their pictures in the magazine. And you'll go back and find some of these people that ended up getting careers. And that just tells me, yeah, I mean, I think it was so influential in so many of our lives at that time,
Yeah.
Did you ever get to meet 40?
Go ahead. Sorry. So, Scott, I walked on you. Hold on. Say that again.
Oh, I asked Mike if he ever got to meet 40 Ackerman. So
no, I did not. Some friends I know that got a chance to do that, but that was a pilgrimage I did not make in my youth. I should have done that,
So, yeah, he was at a Chicago show here once, and that's the only time I met him. But very nice, he's a very nice man.
Prior to 3 years ago, the only Wonderfest I'd ever been to was the one that Harryhausen was at. And I told my George was like, yeah, Ray Harryhausen's going to be there. And I told my wife, I'm going to drive across the country just to go shake a guy's hand and just say thank you. And that was pretty much the whole reason for going. And I got to sit right behind him in the theater and watch King Kong. And that was a big deal. You can't, Dick Smith and Ray Harryhausen, those guys, I mean, everything that I have done in my entire life, up to and including this, is because of what they made and because of the imagination that they showed us. And it's not over. I'm going to continue to make this stuff. And you see all these people that have this sort of fever for this stuff. And there's a commonality there. And I don't think the magic is ever going to go away, for me anyway. So
no, I don't think so either.
That's part of what that kit's all about.
Should we talk about how Rob Madison ruined that for you? The whole Harryhausen thing.
Oh, well, yeah, there was a party where you buy into some of the Hollywood myths, right? And I was like, can you believe one guy did all that? And he's like, Harryhausen didn't sculpt all his own stuff. He had all these guys, and then there were animators that helped him out. I'm like, no, And Rob, this day he'll say it just looked like he was just kind of kicking my puppy or something like that. Telling me about that, but I'm older and wiser, and I'm more practical now, and I've accepted it, at this point.
That's a great story, though.
Everything that I'm doing in this business and everything that so many people that I know has just got origins like that. You see something in a movie or you read something in a book and it just makes you go, what? I want to do something like that. And that's never left me. Never left you guys. You're sitting here doing this.
Yeah. I'd love to hear in the comments on this video, if someone what was your point that got you inspired? What was it was it that same magazine? Was it something you watched on TV? Anything? I'd love to hear everybody's stories and kind of share those maybe in a future
People
episode.
will say Star Wars, right? When they saw Star Wars, that was a big one. Younger people will say Jurassic Park was another huge one for people. And for me, it was the original King Kong and Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. When I saw the original King Kong, I thought on TV, how did they do that? How did that giant ape fight that dinosaur? And to this day, that's my favorite film of all time. It's the thing that opened this whole sense of wonder in me to carry forward to this day. So that's a good thing. It'd be kind of fun to hear people's comments about what was the moment, right?
Yeah, I'd love to hear that. I'd love to, or email them to me. I'll share them out on in the email section, whatever you feel like. Or call and
Yeah.
leave a voicemail with your story. 30 seconds. Sure.
So you
Well,
at one time traditionally sculpted, I'm assuming, with clay
yeah.
and wax and everything.
Yeah.
And you've made the, I hate to say progression because I'll get in trouble with a lot of the traditional guys, but you've made
Yep.
the switch. Let's say you've made the transition or the switch to digital.
Yep. Yep.
What have you found that you like about it? What do you hate about it? Or do you like everything about it?
So my career in general has been a commercial artist.
Mhm.
And so I'll just start with the undo button and multiple versions. I mean, that is how I earn my living, right? Working with clients. We would love this. Absolutely. Here it is. Oh, please change that. Please move that. Please shift that. Please, that, all that kind of stuff. And when you're sculpting in clay, obviously it can be an issue depending
Mhm.
upon what you're doing. So I embraced all forms of digital media as far as graphic design goes. And it just seemed like the logical thing to do. There was a project I was bidding on that was for a dinosaur museum. It never happened, but it was supposed to be a family of dinosaurs. And I thought, wouldn't this be kind of cool if I come up with one model, then I can pose it differently. And the shapes of bodies are different depending on the age of the dinosaur. Don't get me started. But I could make 5 or 6 out of one and then print them all somehow. And this was in the early days when I didn't even really know how that was going to happen. But that was another advantage that I saw. Like, oh, okay, now you can do this and you can do that. And so I've never been afraid of the technology. It was such a learning curve to get to do it. But now I just have so much fun with it. I find it to be incredibly liberating. And I still feel every single time that I take a file and I hit print and then I go out in the garage and I see it coming out of that vat, I feel like I'm doing a magic trick. Like I just go look at it, I'm like, that's so cool. I get that feeling every time I hit
Hey,
print.
I don't sculpt them, and I feel that way when I see that stuff.
Yeah,
Like when I go down there and the thing is on the bed and it's like it's come out and it's like, wow, yeah.
and so I'm still that kid, the kid with the monster magazine, right? That's still me, and it's this new technology. So I thought I embraced it. Actually, it was George Stevenson again. He pushes me all the time to be better than I think I am. He just tells me you're going to do this. He wanted me to do these tiny little sculptures of the Game of Thrones of dragons. So the Reign of Fire Dragon, Game of Thrones for his Micromania line. So they're going to be, 2 inches long. And I start looking at research pictures. I'm like, how? What, what kind of clay is going to allow me to do that much detail, that tiny? And it's modern design. Okay, so like for example, the Game of Thrones dragons are designed on the computer,
Yeah.
so they can have 10 zillion scales on them because of that technology. And I said, George, do you mind if I try out doing these digitally? And he's like, well, how are we going to print? Like, how do you print them? I'm like, I don't know. We'll find somebody. Like, I didn't even know at that point, just a few years ago. My ex-business partner actually ended up buying a 3D printer and got into the technology, and George knows him. And so the three of us kind of got together and he printed those dragon heads. And I just said, this is super fun. It's just as much fun as, it's obviously I could get into that whole traditional digital, yeah, but I don't have a shop right now. So I'm very, very fortunate that I embraced digital because I can get that sort of feeling of creating and sculpting and concepting. And I don't have a shop. I don't have a lump of clay in front of me right now. So I don't have anything but good things to say about the process. It's every bit as difficult as sculpting in clay. I get every bit as frustrated. I tear things down, I rebuild them, I sculpt them 3 times. And so people who think, well, it's digital, you just push a button. No, it's not. And not only that, all my artistic insecurities come along with me into the digital realm in the same way as you do when you're sculpting things. So it's changed a lot of things. I think it's brought me some pleasure to be able to work in that medium, and certainly some opportunities. All the stuff I'm doing with Escape Hatch, it's just like it wouldn't exist. It just wouldn't if I didn't have that technology. And so I'm embracing it and having a ton of fun with it. That's my attitude. And I guess what you're saying, Scott, people think, oh, it's just digital. You're just, yeah, it's not the same.
Mhm.
It was kind of funny. There was a piece of fantasy art up in a forum a couple of weeks ago, and somebody's like, I get that AI crap off of here. And somebody said, well, how can you tell that's AI? And he wrote this giant essay. Well, I have been in the art business and I know this, that, and the other thing. The very next comment was, hi, I'm the artist that painted that. And it was actually painted with paint on not digitally. And it's like, boom, you know. So people think digital is somehow less. People think 3D printing is somehow less. These are just mediums, right? It's just like, you know, we're not pounding pigments and putting them on rocks anymore. Things progress and they change. But you know, to my point earlier, it's like, what's the concept? What are you making? What are you trying to say with what you're doing? That's also important.
Yeah.
You know?
When we've run into that, we get some criticism. We cover the digital realm a little too much.
Yeah.
And, you know, both of us, garage kit roots, we love garage kits. I'm a little older than he is. So I started with the Aurora stuff like you did. He was a little later, Dungeons and Dragons miniatures and stuff, but had an uncle that had the Aurora stuff that he'd go look at. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
And, you know, I look at it going, it's a natural progression. Okay. And it's not that clay sculpting is bad. It's not that, just like, to me, it's not like vinyl kits were bad, styrene kits are bad, resin kits are bad. They're all different. And now you add 3D prints into it. It's just another medium of figure modeling to me.
I've always been pretty agnostic about that stuff. Like, is it a vinyl kit? Is it a subject I like? Do I like the sculpture? Do I like the pose? Is it cool? Okay. How do you work with this? I mean, but interestingly enough, with me doing Aurora themed things, there's a lot of these people out there that are just like, can I use Tester's cement? No, but don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Like, go get some super glue. It's fine. Give it like, and so it's kind of funny how sort of people can be in their little world of this is the thing, but I don't, you know, what's the model kit made out of? I think some people have recently been bringing up, you know, how long is this resin going to last? And like the 3D printing resin. And I haven't seen anything with it that is going to suggest that it's the same thing as urethane. Some of those early stinky urethane kits. Yeah, I mean, so I'm not afraid of it from a physical medium standpoint, to build it, to paint it, to sculpt it, to create it. But people are going to be what they're going to be, right? They're going to have some fear of new technology and questions about it.
You hit on something for me. Like, I have never not bought a kit because of what it was made out of. Like,
Right.
if it was something I like if it's like you said, if it's subject matter, if it's character I want, I don't care if it's plastic or if it's vinyl or if it's resin. Like, it's still the model kit of something I've always wanted. That would never stop me if something was vinyl versus resin. Like, and same with 3D printed. It wouldn't.
Exactly. And there's opportunities as well. Like, so I did this add-on for the Fly, the Return of the Fly, and it's this just massively spiky head. One of the fun parts about doing that project was there's no way anybody would mold and cast that thing.
Right.
Just too skinny and too pokey. And I thought, this is a great opportunity to showcase.
I don't even know how he printed that thing. Okay, let alone try to mold and cast it. I mean, he must have been cussing you the whole time.
Actually, I printed like the first 20 or 30 of them.
Did you? Okay, so you had the orientation worked out, the support.
Yeah, I had it all figured out. And even when I did it, but there's a thing with 3D printing. Let's try this and see if it's a disaster when I go to print it. You know, and how's that going to work? For, hey, mom, the kid's got a visor on his helmet. And so we went and did a bunch of tests with clear resin, clear 3D printing resin, and it just didn't work. That's why the kit took so long so I ended up sculpting vacuum form molds, and we got a little vacuum former, and now the domes for that thing are all individually vacuum formed. So what's this clear piece of plastic coming with the 3D? Again,
Yeah.
be agnostic about it. If it's a cool model, people will figure it out. And so, as we know, that's one part of the problem, that difficulties that some people are having with adopting the 3D printing thing. And the perception that somehow it's going to break down, or that it's cheap, or that it's quick and easy. Are people going to listen to Model Club TV when all three of us look into the camera and say, no, it's not?
You're damn right they are. Okay.
Exactly.
I know it's good for them. They're gonna. Okay.
You're
I'll take the
trusted
heat.
source. Yeah.
I'll take the heat.
Well, this has brought the two of you together on a project, the old and the new.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit, if you will.
Well, the other evil activity that I take part in is scanning things, right? And that is something that scares people as well. Not Scott. He wants to scan everything, and that's.
I want to scan Jason.
I had to draw the line at a few things, but
yeah,
so, he wants to make a life-size doll out of me to keep in his house. I know.
Like the tattoo you embossed on the original. Yeah,
yeah. So that's another thing that George Stevenson was talking with me about. He's got these 1-to-1 scale busts. And he was like, man, I sell these. They do really, really well, but wouldn't it be kind of cool to have them in different sizes? And so I had Phantom of the Opera bust, the pre-paint one that George put out. And I'm just curious in general. And I learned about photogrammetry. And this is at the very beginning of this whole thing. Well, okay, you walk around it with a camera, an object, you take like 500, 1,000 pictures of it, you throw those pictures into a computer, you process it, and you get a reasonable facsimile of it. So I just played around in my backyard. I took my Phantom out there, just set up a tripod, took 1,000 pictures of it, and came up with a really cruddy model, But then I got it in the computer, and I made a little video of me turning it around, and George was like, "Why the hell did you do that? How?" And I'm like, "I know, it's cool, isn't it? I just think it's cool, So I started doing stuff like that, and I ran right up against some of the questions about this technology very early on, right? So George says, "Well, see what you can do." And I got really pretty awful scans that I ended up having to go in and kind of sculpt and clean up. And we got pretty good. So the Phantom in particular, and lots of George's stuff, is Jeff Yeager's stuff. And so George is super excited, but his work with Jeff is, I own the sculpt. I can do what I want with it. And that's their agreement. But he showed it to Jeff, and he's like, "I don't know how I feel about that." And George is like, if you don't know how you feel about that, I respect you well enough to say, I'm just going to put a halt on it. And that didn't mean never. It just meant it's new, and it was kind of frightening to him. Like, how do I like it when somebody's taken my stuff and is going to, do this? And so right at the very beginning, I ran into this whole thing about, well, people are going to have feelings about this, about their work, and about what does it mean to reproduce things at different scales. And but I refined that photogrammetry process, and I started to work on some other things where there were artist permissions given, and some of my own things. And eventually I ended up buying a scanner. And that's another one of those little magic tricks that I really enjoy doing. The scanning technology is not such that you can set something up, hit scan, and hit print. It is far, far from being that. And it's a whole nother skill to develop. So that brings us to Scott. This is a great example. So you have this wonderful, wonderful King Kong sculpture, 18 and something inches tall. You guys are going to probably show a picture of it at some point. And you said, I'd like to see this in a different size. Could you scan it? I'm like, yeah, I think so. So I got one from Rob Madison, and it was quite a grueling process to try to scan it, right? So I've got a little handheld Not a. It's like a.
I have to ask,
tabletop.
when you got it in your hand, did you go, Jesus Christ, what was I
What did I?
thinking?
No, no, it's cool. It's a challenge, right? Like, oh, okay, I'll figure this out. So the scanner that I have is intended to scan like 4 inches by 4 inches, small things, and this thing is 18 inches tall. It's just massive and beautiful, by the way. Matt Mannett, right?
Right. Yeah, Matt.
The
Matt did
original
a
sculptor.
fantastic job. Yep.
It's amazing. So what I have to do is scan it in very small sections and then turn the thing and move the scanner up and down. And I think I probably did over 50 different passes on different parts of the model, upside down, backwards, and then they all get grafted together. So that's fairly grueling. I took and in my trailer, I have to make sure that my wife is out for the evening because if you're walking around, then the thing jiggles. So it's another one of my issues. But then once you get it all together, the scanners are really great. They get the form, they get the overall proportions of everything, but the details just do not come through. They're incredibly soft. And I'm very disappointed in the current technology because I keep waiting for it to get like really better to get those super sharp details. Anyway, so
and I've got a picture here of the original, the first scan, after you
yeah,
had scanned it and you sent it to me.
yeah.
And I remember you showing us the creature scan from the creature bust you did.
For people at home,
Yeah.
Scott, this is the one with the light gray background?
Yes,
Okay.
on a light gray background. And
Okay.
I remember you and I was shocked how clean this came out compared to the earlier scans I believe you showed us in the last time you were on and stuff. And either
Yep.
how much better you've gotten at it or you've gotten a better scanner or both,
Yeah,
And
I'd say
so when
both.
I saw this, I was like, oh man, he's going to be able to do this. But I know that, and next to it, I'm showing a picture of the finished sculpt just to show people, you had to go in and redo all that hair,
Mhm.
and there, you couldn't really match the hair exactly to the sculpt because it's
Right.
it's just a totally different, technique.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, you did a great job.
Well, thank- So,
And
like,
you split it up for me, and yeah, this is my intent, and this is what I like about it. Like you were saying, is I can print this in different sizes. And then you and I talked about a bust, and I've got a picture of the bust mock up here, which I still don't have. I'm such a jag.
You are.
But
the busy season. What can I say?
tell us about this process though of doing this Kong. Like, was it the fur? Was the fur the hardest, or was it just? Did it help that it was a subject matter that you're in love with?
So it took doing the first scan took about 7 hours straight, where I can't really interrupt. I have to sit there and just do it. And I had to do that twice because the first one was a failure, and I didn't show you that model because it was horrible. And I think you're right. I've got a better scanner now, but I've also been doing this for a year and a half, 2 years. I want to emphasize this. This is not auto magic. It just is. I fail and then I figure something else out, and I built different kind of rigs to make it work. And then once you get it in, I look at it as, yeah, now I really kind of have to resculpt it. And so I get the original piece right there. And I want to emphasize this again between you and me, Scott. Before I started this process, I said, talk to Matt. Let him know that this is happening. Find out if he has a problem with this. And also let him know that what I see my job when I'm doing this is to be faithful to the original sculptor as much as I possibly can. Get as
Right.
close as I can. Preserve that detail. Not my sculpture. Not my. I am performing a service, I think. And hopefully other sculptors will see it this way. I've done a few things for people, which is they want something larger, they want something smaller. And so I take it pretty seriously, making sure that the artist is informed and is on board and everybody's cool with how this is all going to be used. Because, like in George's case, he had the complete right to do it. But it's sort of like, you know what? I have a lot of great relationships with great sculptors. If my sculptor is not really comfortable, this. I respect that. Let's have a dialogue. Let's make sure this sort of happens. So this was a sculpture that was 10 inches tall. It needed to be 9 3/8 inches tall. The sculpture was fantastic. It executed the client perfectly, but it was just the wrong size. So he says, can you scan this and can you resize this? Everybody was on board. I was performing something to kind of help a project along, and everybody's very happy with the result. So that's another thing that can happen. But in the case of Kong, it was kind of grueling to get the scan because it was so damn big and beautiful. And then again, I wanted just to make sure that I got as much of the detail in there, not my own detail, but try to recapture exactly what Matt had done in that way.
So I just have a technical question. Once you've done your scans, how long does it take to process in the computer? Do you take those scans and load them in and then it just builds it off of could you just explain how it works?
Yeah, so it builds it. So you think about each scan as kind of like a little mini project, all contained in a bigger project, almost like Photoshop layers, right?
Okay.
So if I'm doing one series of scans, then it'll grab that piece of the data and then I can kind of edit it and it saves it in a stack. Then I go in to do the next one. If I'm lucky, the internet will work.
Yeah.
But I'm in the middle of a rainstorm right now, so that might have to do with it. If I'm lucky, doing that one batch and then moving to the next batch, the computer will align the two because it finds common points.
Right. That's what I was wondering, if it does that. Okay.
Then I stitch those things together. Now, if it doesn't work, there's a manual alignment routine you can go in, and it's basically like grabbing two 3D objects and kind of trying to line them up and then telling the computer, can you do it now? Can you do it now? And that was what I had the very first time that I did it. I ended up with 3 big chunks that I just could not get it to recognize. And so, King Kong was in all the, it didn't really work. So yeah, you stitch it together as you go and then save often. I haven't ever had it where I got halfway through a scan and then left and came back and tried to pick it up on another day. I'm just a little too nervous about the technology right now. If I get it going, that's why it took me so long. You kind of have to go all the way to the end of it. So my laptop does it. My workstation at home was a lot faster. So at the end of the scanning process, when I go and I hit process, probably took about an hour and a half to 2 hours of just sitting there where I'm going,
Watching the bar go.
I wonder if this is going to work. And if not, start over, do it again, be tenacious about it. So yeah, then you get it into ZBrush, clean it up, retopologize the mesh so that it's easier to sculpt on, and then just start getting in there with the actual model as main reference and clean it up. So I don't know what I would say in terms of how many hours I had into that thing, but a couple of different, probably 40 hours plus. And so again, I'm not pushing a button,
For sure.
Oh,
right. And that's what I want to make clear to people.
Make King Kong, please. Beep. Thank you.
And and even when I go to sell this, it's going to be a certain price. Okay.
Yeah.
And people are going to say, well, it's only this much in resin and you're printing it yourself and all that. And it's like, yeah, that's all true. Okay.
Yeah.
Michael didn't do this for free for me, almost, but not quite. Okay. So, I have to recoup some of that cost. But the nice thing is,
I'm almost out of Happy Meal coupons. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're coming. I'll send you another McDonald's gift card. What, 25?
Oh,
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, and again, the good thing is I can probably sell a small number of these and recoup that cost. Where if this was a resin sculpt and I had to mold it and cast it traditionally, okay, I'd be into this for a lot more money and maybe break even, maybe make a few dollars. Okay. So it's, again, I have the option to do different sizes here. Again, we've talked about the bust. So there's so many just
cutting and
possibility.
keying, like that's another part too, like that you have to. That takes
Oh
time.
yeah, cutting it up, keying it, and and you've got the photo there, Jason, of the parts breakdown, and it's just
I
amazing.
just hope it translates on our screen when we show everybody the amount of detail after the scan that you put into there, because I can look at the pictures real close. When people are looking at their TVs, I hope maybe we'll put up pictures later on somewhere where they could see.
You know what? I have a picture I can send you too, where Mike did a test on the fur texture.
Okay,
you can see what it was before he did something and what it was after he did something, and it was amazing. And I'm very happy, even though I haven't printed one. And I know I've hinted at it, but this will be the first show where people will say and see that this is coming. And for those of you that still like the traditional, it is the plan to release it again in the original size, in traditional resin, traditional casting. So if you want the original sculpt, and Michael and I came up with the term, well, you came up with the term digitally remastered. If you want it not digitally remastered, if you want the analog sculpt, okay. I am going to offer that again. But, again, a lot of people didn't buy this kit because they said, it's too damn big, man. I can't put it on my shelf. Okay.
Too much
Jason's
money,
got one, so he knows,
So here's another, like, digitally remastered is a thing that I think everybody can go, well, I kind of know what that is, because we've heard that term with movies before. So I did another project with Rob Madison, and of course, Rob is up for just about anything, but he had this Octaman kit.
Yeah, we know.
We know.
Yeah, we know about Rob.
You can get him on here, by the way, anytime soon. But he had an Octaman kit, and so the molds are gone. All he had was a buildup. He didn't have parts. The molds are shot. Doesn't know where it is. He's like, "Can we get this in, and then repart it and redo it? I'd like to reissue it." Yep. So there's a perfect example where there was no original material to go off of except for his built and painted sculpture. I was able to capture it and then digitally remaster it and exist. And that was a fun project for both of us. And I'm doing it also with Alligator People that he released.
Okay, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yep.
And so that's a really cool kit. And I've got that scanned in. And I'm kind of working on reworking that a little bit because there was some controversy about the legs of that creature. I don't know if you guys know that story, but
I probably do. But it's
anyway,
going crazy.
So I like this
another thing I want to say real quick too is, when I put this out, Matt will still get credit for the sculpt. Okay, and it will be sculpted, original sculpt by Matt Mannett, digitally remastered for 3D printing by Michael Berglund.
Yeah. I'm just a helper bee, right?
For
but I'm having
$10,000. But yeah, no. But I mean, so I like your appreciation of the original sculptor, and I also have that appreciation for him. I want to strangle him sometimes, but this was a dream piece of mine for him to do, which he did. Okay.
Yeah.
And my problem is there's a lot of King Kongs out there, and I haven't seen a lot of King Kongs that are great. And I think he did a great job, and I think you did a great job. Tony Cipriano does some nice Kongs too. He's got a couple out there right now that I really like. But I mean, this is just for those of you watching, it's still out a little bit, but it is coming. The files are in my hands, and
no, and I have to say another, part of the reason why any of us do this stuff, you asked me, you showed me a picture of it. I'm like, that's super cool. I want to see the original. And then I got it. And I'm like, wow. I have this feeling of being fortunate that I get to be a part of it. And that's also really kind of cool to me. And so I feel like this obligation, just do the best job that I can for you. And for Matt, and if I'm going to continue to do this, and also just take the scary away from the technology, it can be used for evil, or it can be used for good.
Sure can. But and I look at it and go, I'm the original producer, so let me have fun with it, okay? And this is again another good thing about digital is that even if someone does a completely new sculpt for you, it's like, okay, break it up. I want to make a bust. I want to, whatever. I want to make a wall hanger, whatever. And you have that ability to do that quickly as well.
Yeah.
It's not that it's overnight. Don't get me wrong, but it's easier than taking the original sculpt and cutting it, and So again, I love what you did with the piece.
I've also used it for there's a couple of things where I've done add-ons for existing sculpts. And so if I was doing that physically in clay, then that's okay. You'd get a casting of the sculpt or whatever, and then just build onto it and take a mold. But if I don't have clay, I can take whatever the part of the sculpt is that I'm going to build onto and do a dimensionally accurate scan of it, bring it into the computer, and then I know that things are going to marry up perfectly
So
after.
let's talk about that. You did a second project for me.
Yeah.
And you scanned the Mike Parks Tiny Terror Godzilla, which, by the way, forced me to finish building it after 21 years so I could get it to you. And this is the honest to God's truth. I sent it to you in a campground. Did I not? Did it not come to? So it went to a campground.
To a KOA.
KOA, where the camper was parked that week.
My professional street address, right?
And and right now, what I'm showing pictures again of this, the original sculpt. And the idea is I wanted to print this bigger. Mike Park's widow wants to reissue a lot of Mike's work. Mike was a great guy. I don't know if you ever met Mike or not. I'm sure George has told you Mike was a great guy.
I heard the stories, but I never got the
and this is one of his most popular, almost his most signature piece. I've always wanted this bigger. Okay. Which is what Jason's mom says. Anyway, I got to get one in every episode, Jason. Sorry. So I always wanted one bigger, and then this technology comes along, and I'm like, what if? And then so I got in a hold of you on the Kong, and I said, well, while we're talking about the Kong, let's talk about this. And I offered I could have sent you one unbuilt or built, and you said, well, built's probably better. So I said, okay. And the idea was, and I've talked on the show about it, is because Mike had a twisted sense of humor. His widow's got a twisted sense of humor. Let's take that mess that's on the foot of that piece that's this big. Okay. And it's not that Mike did a terrible job. It's just, you're only going to do so much by hand. Like you said, by hand and clay with that. And this was just a fun piece. I was like, let's put Mike on there. Let's put Mike on the foot. And so you were able to, like you just said, you were able to, smooth that out and put Mike in there with some elements that we wanted, a guitar and some sculpting tools and his cap. And Jason, I'll send you the slide of the finished one now, but and we've shown the printed one, and it came out great. Mike's widow was thrilled. Terry Webb, who was a good friend of Mike's, I did send him one. And Terry said, I want to dive into this and build it right away. He goes, this really came out great, and I think what's great about it is you didn't lose the shape of it at all. I mean, it's right on. And we have a picture Jason took of it, his small one compared right next to this one. And it's amazing. And I got to tell you too, when I printed it, this thing goes together like such minimal seam work is going to be needed on this to put it together. It's unbelievable. So again, another great job on this piece.
Well, that's another thing about the technology being used for good, right? So I get all the feels from having been able to work on this tribute, to have Mike's widow. I know he meant a lot to, like I said, I didn't get the chance to meet him, but I know that he made a big impact on this hobby. You asked me to do this. Everybody was on board saying, let's do this. And so it's a tribute to him, right? In that way. And I just feel great that I got to be a part of that. That was super fun. And I'm so glad that you're happy and she's happy. And so there's another scanning project that's just been really a pleasure to be a part of. So be not afraid. Be not afraid.
Can I go back to the Kong for 1 second? are the teeth going to be separate parts?
Yes.
They are? Cool. I just want to, just because as a printer,
Cool.
and I whenever someone leaves the teeth in there, when you have teeth coming up and teeth coming down, it messes
Here they
with
are.
your orientation, how you're going to print that. Because if you're going to print
No,
out, so it
King
helps to
Kong's
have those
teeth-
teeth out. I was just wondering.
Kong's
Yeah, the teeth are separate pieces.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I think that maybe we should touch on if we could with you. So on this particular thing, like Jason just said, the teeth are separate. A lot of guys sculpt stuff without the printer in mind. Just like for years, guys have sculpted shit without the resin caster in mind. Okay. Yep. So because you had printing experience, do you look at things and say, well, if I cut this here, he can orient it like this? And, you know.
Absolutely. And I think it was for Kong, I even said, I want to put an extra cut into Kong that you might not intuitively think should be there. And I learned this there's a fantastic sculptor, Daniele Agnazzi. He's done like Pumpkinhead for George and
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is an Italian fellow that is astonishing. So good.
He's really good.
But he also shows an awful lot of pictures of his process, and he'll do kits that have 200 pieces to them. It's ridiculous. But he talked about the fact about the orientation, and I got this tip from him. Sometimes you cut something if you're going to 3D print it so that it will sit there with minimal supports. And that might mean you're doing two pieces where in a resin world, one would be the way to do it. But if you do two pieces, it means all of the supports can be on a hidden surface.
Yep.
It means less cleanup of the part for the modeler and better. So I started to actually divide things up, thinking in those terms, like, okay, how's this going to go on the bed? And where can I give you something as a printer, give you something to grab onto so that the actual sculpt doesn't get as much.
And knowing what you just said, you're probably talking about the waist and the bottom, like his torso and his waist, right?
The waist, yeah.
Because
and I think you even asked me, can I cut it there? And I said, hey, cut it wherever, you know.
Yeah.
It's
so, and then if you want to, so I did a project also, there's if you want to do something that's just too darn big and you want to cut it into smaller pieces so you can do it on a smaller printer, that's another reason to do it. But I told you, Scott, like if you want, print a master, put those things together, and then do a resin if you really want to do a silicone on it. But you're going to have a better print if it's divided in that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, always as a sculptor, and because I also come from a molding and casting background, I'm thinking, how is this going to, you can't let that completely determine how you sculpt something, because you don't want to pose it for the ease of the, but as a molder and caster and a sculptor, sometimes as a molder, I hate myself as a sculptor, and sometimes as, it both ways. So I do try to think, once it's been established, then you start to think about how is this going to be convenient, but the other thing that George taught me is not just for the molder and the caster, but also for the builder, right? So if you've got a head and it's inside a collar, don't cut it here, cut it down in there so that you can paint a shirt and swap and sometimes that means a whole lot more work, but that's a sign of quality, a sign that you care about the builder. I think it's part of that dialogue between those two parts of the process.
I agree completely. As a painter, not having to mask is amazing. When you can just take a head and pop it in where it's supposed to be, like you just said, where it fits their chest to the shirt to that, and it's just, you can keep them separate. That's what makes Japanese kits so awesome. Like those Japanese garage, like the girl kits, how they fit together perfectly without having to mask a lot of stuff sometimes.
Oh, I've got a rat fink that fits together like a puzzle.
Yeah.
It was a Japanese rat fink. And it literally, I don't know how you could build this thing, because it's amazing the engineering that went into it. But it's like, yeah, but you got to do this and this and this to have it together. And then how the hell are you going to paint this when it's together? And it's but it's crazy. But I've gotten things like, let's say my King Kong from guys, and the teeth come as one piece. Now they're two pieces, they come on one file. So yes, and I have to go in and do the extra step and cut it, split it. And I've had it with whiskers on kits where the guys will put whiskers like this, let's say. Okay. Now, if I'm printing a whisker, I'm printing it straight up in the air. Okay. So if they're on the bed like this, there's no way for me to do that. So I gotta, you know what I'm talking about. I gotta cut them so I can orient them, the way I need to. And so it was really nice to, the Godzilla was really minimal supports.
Well, I think so does this matter to whoever's going to build the kit? My contention is, yeah, it kind of does, because people like to watch model kit TV, because even if they're builders, they also want to hear jokes about Jason's mom. No, I mean, they come here to hear about.
Oh, he got you in on it too. Was this part of the contract? Got to at least
this
sneak
wasn't
one
a contract. He had to make one Jason's mom joke. Okay.
This is. I'm sorry, Jason.
Oh no, it's all good.
But the point is that everything in this hobby is very much a human connection, right? Whoever the sculptor is, people like to know and talk with them. The molders and casters are known to the people. The whole process is known to people. Mm-hmm. And so I think the idea is that if in that initial relationship we're caring about each other and we're caring about the product, I think that makes the product more appealing, and then the eventual person's going to enjoy building it. I think so. Yeah. If it looks like, I've built an awful lot of kits, and certainly but the Monarch kits, the styrene kits, is a whole different engineering challenge, not one that I don't know how to do. So the Fly, for instance, we sent that over, and I had it parted out like you would a resin kit. I knew that wasn't what they were going to do, but the technicians in China that took that thing and then engineered it into a styrene kit is a whole nother level of relationship between the manufacturer and the consumer. And when I got those parts back and I'm like, oh, it fits in like this, and it just goes like, there's something about that when you're putting a kit together, test fitting it. And so I think all this stuff matters, to me, it does. Anyway,
I think it matters to people more than you think. I think you're right about the human.
I gotta tell you, when I put that first Godzilla together, and I'm gonna start off by saying I love Mike Parks, okay, but Mike Parks was a rough caster, okay. I mean, and he took that Godzilla sculpt and he chopped it straight, no keys, no nothing, okay. Yeah. It was
the early days.
Yeah. It was the early days. I'm not criticizing Mike, but this is just what it was. And so when I got this and I printed the first one, and by the way, I fit one whole piece on a Jupiter build plate, so like at the size I wanted, so that was beautiful. But anyway, when I got this thing, washed and cleaned up and cured, and I started fitting the parts, I couldn't believe it was so clean. And Jason, you saw it, so it was just amazing to me. It was like a whole new old kit. It was like an old friend, but
digitally remastered.
Yes.
But there it is.
There it is.
The new hot catchphrase, and that makes me happy because
you didn't have the tape hiss. Yeah.
That makes me happy because I've been working on trying to improve the keying and know how important that is, and how thick should that gap be, and what is the different ways that you can get things to articulate together so that they work. Mm-hmm. And also, as you know, when things come off of the printer and you've got to break the supports off, sometimes there's little bits that need to be sanded and there's distortion. So maybe it's because I do my own printing. When I have a house, I do my own printing, but I've known the things that I've printed that have frustrated me or that haven't gone well together. And I'm at the point right now, like, it's been fantastic with Todd. I think at least 2 out of the 4 ferocious females, I didn't have the opportunity to even print them. I'm at the point where I just send it to him, and then he'll tell me if there's a problem when he prints it, like, and then, this needs to change or that needs to change, make this adjustment. But I think that's another skill that I'm continually working on, is that technical skill of how to divide things up, how to make things good for the model or good for the printer.
There's guys that get mad at that when you ask them to change something. When you get a file, they get mad at that. And it's like, come on. Now, I haven't printed the Kong yet. I'm quite sure if I put one together and say, hey, this key's a little tight, I'm sure you'll say, hey, hold on. And, whatever.
Hopefully
But
they
I don't
grease
see
it
it's going to
down,
be a
just in
problem
case.
at this point. You know,
No, no. Well, okay. I'll get on my little artist soapbox here for a second.
that's right. You can.
I do have imposter syndrome where there's so many fantastic sculptors out there, and I'm just lucky to be able to kind of get some things out and do things. But I always seem like I'm apologizing for my species, artists, because it's pretty simple. Show up, do what you're gonna say, what you say you're gonna do, and then be a good human and help people and work with. And how many times in my life I've pulled on jobs and had opportunities because other people just simply dropped the ball. For what reason? For what reason? If you have a problem with your King Kong, then I'm the guy that did that. I'll help fix it.
Mhm.
That seems to me to just be like, if that's how you treat your neighbor. And
Mhm.
I don't know. It seems simple, but I've taken on so many artist jobs from some artist that's been pissy or hasn't finished a project or hasn't showed up, or guys. Oh, I've seen
I-
incredibly talented
That's why a lot of them
people.
are starving, and you're traveling
I'm
the
trying
country.
not to be.
I'm not. No,
Yeah.
that's exactly
I
it.
I
a
agree
guy-
with you 100%, and it's so tiring. And I think we need to stop apologizing for those people, and just let them follow. Like
I have a good friend that's a traditional artist, and it just seemed like he's never been able to quite make his career work. Right, sort of like woe is me, woe is me, woe is
and
me.
it's always
then
someone else's fault.
you talk to the client, and the client's like, "Well, he said he was going to have it for me on Tuesday, and 3 months later, he wasn't returning my phone calls." And blah. And it's like, this is simple. This is simple. If your neighbor calls and says, "Have you got any peanut butter?" Yes, I'll bring that right over. You just bring it right over. You don't just. I look at it as relationships between artists and producers and the consumers shouldn't be any different than that. And I don't know why. This is why me and my insecurity about my own ability has managed to succeed by just showing up.
Right.
It's just doing the thing.
Right.
Okay, maybe you got it better, but at least you could have gotten it better with somebody else, but you got it and it exists. It seems simple. But
Scott, care to comment on your slowness and not doing what you say you're going to do sometimes?
No, I do it. It just takes me a long time. But one thing I have learned: never take anyone's money if you think you're going to be delayed. Okay, so and I will. I don't want to get Michael in trouble, but Michael also, we had a mutual friend, so I think he trusted me. Michael didn't ask for a dime till he was done. Okay, and I paid him instantly. Which, by the way, I got an overdraft fee. I got a story for. I'll tell you in a second. But
wait, what? It
so
looked like it went through.
but when he when he was ready, hey, no problem. Boom. I sent the money, sent the files, no issues. I mean, that's how you do business. Now, if I choose to sit on those files for 10 years, that's on me. He fulfilled his part. So what happened, Michael? Fucking PayPal. So I had what I had to pay you all but $30 in my PayPal account, right? So I said to myself, okay, so I'll just send them the money and they'll pull the rest, all the other 30 out of my checking account, and it'll be good, right? And I keep my checking account, linked to my PayPal, but every once in a while I replenish it, but I don't keep a lot of money in there. Maybe a couple hundred at a time. Fucking PayPal goes to take the whole amount. They took the whole amount out of my checking, and they fucking zap me. Okay, and I'm like, you motherfuckers. Now, I've been with my bank since 93, so they sent me a really nice letter saying, hey, you overdrew. I go, I overdrew where? Because I don't even hardly use that account for anything. And then I go in and see it. I'm like, fucking PayPal. So I right away went in and transferred the money out of my PayPal to my bank and, covered my bank. But my bank covered it, which was awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's like, so for those of you that use PayPal, there's an extra step, because I found this out yesterday when I did something, to go in and it says use balance first.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have
Some
to do
of us
that.
have known that
Tell me
for a
you
long
didn't
time,
do
Scott.
that. But they didn't give me a fee, so that was cool. But it was
It
like,
takes a while
I
for
get this-
Scott to catch up
I
on
get this
something.
overdraft notice. I'm like, what the hell? So
There was, it was a great transaction. It's fine. Always have. So the other thing is, I'm not a starving artist, right? I don't. I think people get really desperate. It's like, if I don't get the money for this sculpture, I'm not going to eat, or not going to be able to pay the rent. Well, that's a great artistic place to be. Like, wow, we're having fun now. But so I think it's also a getting to know you relationship, and make sure. And I'm willing to, is like what I told you about what I've been doing with Todd. We both assume some risk, and we go forward together. And so when you asked me to do this, I thought, well, Jason has those incriminating pictures of you that he told me I could have if you didn't pay. So I felt pretty
yeah, but
good
you didn't
about
really want to see his mom naked, did you?
Ah!
I
Thanks, Mike. Mike, thanks for that alley-oop. It was great slamming it down. Okay.
Oh my God.
well, so anyway, I don't want to go on and on about that, but I do have to say that I've had such amazing opportunities that I have been able to pick up from other people that just didn't show up.
But
But
that is, I think, an important thing you're bringing up. The garage kit landscape is littered with sculptors and casters and people who never did what they said they were going to do and have fallen off to the side. And I think anyone who comes into this and says, hey, I'm going to do this, and does this, there will be success for you, because it's just, there's been so many. And there's one right now.
Well, yeah, I could sit and rattle names, and you could. And
it's like, yes. And it's like, even with this, we've said we're going to do that. We have not missed an episode now twice a month since we started this. And like, it's been hard, but we do it. And not all are great. Some are okay. Some are better than others, but we do what we say we're going to do. And people who do that, I think, deserve extra. And I'm not talking like we deserve, but like, just.
The flip side is important too. Ooh. If you're not going to do it, don't be afraid to say no.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'm a soft touch when it comes to people, who need help with something. Hey, can you do this? Or could you scan that? Or could you do yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. That's really cool. However, here would be my time frame. If you need it by here, I just don't think I can do it, or this just doesn't feel right to me. I've even said, have you tried using this other sculptor that I think? So one thing that I'm not really super great about is hard surface modeling. So if you want, a halo guy with one of those weapons, not only is that not really my passion, but I haven't focused my sculpting. I've done some stuff on that. So if somebody said, hey, I want Master Chief, and I'd say, I don't think I'm the guy for it.
Right.
You should go find somebody else. So just knowing when to say no, or when I'm too busy, if you need it, like I didn't know until just, Scott was bitter about this Kong bust not being done, but
well, you're not really meeting the deadline. Okay. What was the deadline again? What was the deadline I gave you? This was what's funny.
No deadline.
I said Wonderfest. Hey, can I get it by Wonderfest? When you did the Kong, I said, can you get it by Wonderfest? And he goes, yeah, I should be able to do that.
So I think this is one of the grand bits of fun about this whole thing. Going to Wonderfest, being in the garage kits, knowing the people who are doing the sculpting, knowing the people that are doing the printing. It's a fan business. It's a relationship business. And it's also a business. Like, I know, Scott, you want to make some money off of the King Kongs. You know why? Because that lets you do more of that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you start to turn it around, and if it doesn't, at some point you have to stop doing it if you can't at least pay for your time and materials.
Well, yeah, and unfortunately, I'm an idiot. Like you said, a soft touch. I'm a soft touch
just
too.
An idiot.
Okay, and like, I don't want to say I'll give shit away, but I'll do shit for people when I don't really want to, because I love this hobby. Okay. Yeah. And, if I can help someone, I do what I can to help them, and I just had a rush printing job for Jersey Fest, and I wanted to kill the guy. I had a week to print a bunch of shit. And I'm like, really? I'm getting the files a week before the show. And, but what did I do? I did
a little miracle happen though, isn't it?
Yeah. A little miracle.
Yes. you get hailed as a hero when that happens. I did a thing for Jersey Fest too. The guy's like, "Hey, I hear that you can do some sort of things, but Jersey Fest is a week and a half and away." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I'll do that. No problem." He's like, "Well, I can't get it in time." I'm like, "Yeah, you can. Yep, you can." And he got it. And so anyway, another happy client because I just did what I said I was gonna do.
Man.
Again, pretty simple.
I think that's a great place to leave it. Where on a good note like that, what if someone wants to get a hold of you for some work? Best place to find you. Shoot out all of your info here.
In a trailer park somewhere. No.
General delivery.
Everybody in this hobby is on Facebook, so I'm on Facebook. Yeah, you can find that or by email. Although I don't almost do any of this business via email. Everything is Facebook, it seems to me. I don't know why. So, and then Escape Hatch Hobbies has most of the stuff that I have done.
Okay.
George Stevenson has some stuff. Blackheart does. Mark Worthling's got a couple of things coming out. So the biggest sandbox right now is Escape Hatch, and also Monarch models, the styrene models. So the Fly, and then so there's don't get me started on that. But the Fly is another one that I kind of pulled a bunch of pieces together and sort of rescued. And the Moon Suit is coming out, which has been a long-awaited project. And that's one where the original files for the Moon Suit came from, what's the name of the company that made the little Moon Suit, Scott?
Major Matt Mason?
Nope. So the guy came out with a model kit of the Moon Suit, and Scott McKillop bought the rights to those files.
Oh, okay.
So, but they needed to be re-engineered, reposed, made for the styrene kit and the base. And so I ended up kind of taking those files and then redesigning it. It's not my original sculpture, but that's another thing where I'm happy to get in and do that. If I can help make a project come to life, I don't have to have the ego of like, oh, I put that rivet in place, So Monarch's coming out with the Moon Suit, Conga, and hopefully a few other kind of fun things that we have in the works. So, anybody else wants to play? Come on in.
Excellent.
It'd be a lot of fun.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us, sir. This has been
thank you.
Really
thank
cool.
you for joining us. It's been a pleasure having you on. It's been a pleasure working with you.
I wonder if he'll say the same.
Not that hey, he really ask him. I didn't really have any input as far as once he started going, he'd send me pictures. What do you think? And I'd be like, looks great. Keep going. And that was it. I mean, I don't think I was hard to work with at all.
Scott is very hands-off. I know. He does. Yeah, he's very hands-off on most things.
And, and Cog's a baby of mine. So if I had a problem, I would have let you know. Hey, did you change the face? Did you do this? But no, it's very much what it was. To start out, so
don't be afraid of technology.
Hopefully Matt will be happy. I don't know. He hasn't seen it yet because he
will
is
now.
afraid of technology, but he'll see it soon.
Well, my only regret coming on is that we didn't go longer than Jesse's episode, but
well, that's all right. We'll stretch our part of it and we'll see what we do.
Okay, it's all on you now.
It's all on us. We'll when we're done here, we'll stretch our part.
Well, we only have 2 more hours to go to get to that point.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Exactly. We're good. We're good.
All right, man. Thanks. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for coming on, Mike.
Cool.
All right.
Scott, congrats on the new kit coming. Timeline, anything?
No, I still am behind on Godzilla's. So if you sent me a request, I do have a list, and you'll hear from me soon. I've got a couple on the printer. I got Jersey Fest job I got tied up in, and so
Scott's overworked, you guys. He's struggling.
I am. I'm dying here today.
Should I do my sound effects every time you drink like I did in the last? All right, we have an on the road segment.
Bobby Mike said, "You're so stupid."
And now you're eating with ice. We're talking with ice in your mouth. All right, hold on.
Go ahead.
What did Mike say?
He said, "Glug glug glug." You're so stupid. It's okay. On the road.
All right, we have an on the road. done an on the road in a while. I went down to Louisville for a music thing called Bourbon and Beyond. And for those of you who don't know, my girlfriend Jamie, she collects things as well. And we go to antique stores and resale shops. And she found this one. It was South Louisville Antique and Toy Mall. It is all toys. There's not really antiques in there, which is amazing because in all of our travels, most of the time it's like one little thing in the store that I like or something else. This one, I must say, is pretty awesome. It is huge. Tons of cases of things. And it's not a lot of older stuff. So I would say it's like from the 60s forward. Mm-hmm. And the most model kit stuff I've ever seen. And I'm wondering if it has a lot. And I talked to a guy there. I think some of it has to do with Wonderfest proximity, is that there's some of the same guys that go to Wonderfest to have some booths in this place. So absolutely, really, absolutely worth stopping in. Hold on, let me get to this.
Before you get going here.
Yeah.
I know you told me this, but for our viewers, is it weird being in Louisville and not for Wonderfest?
It is very weird being in Louisville and Louisville and let me get it right, Louisville. For something other than Wonderfest. The stages of Bourbon and Beyond, you're looking directly at the Executive West behind the main stages. So
you didn't stay there. You didn't stay at the
No, it was sold out by this was a huge fest, so everything was sold out. We had to stay like 20 minutes away at another hotel. So and then this antique mall is, I think, straight down almost like 65 from where Wonderfest is. So if you got like a spare half hour and you're an hour or so and you want to just like quick jump into this place, I think it's worth the trip. There's some really cool stuff in here. So just real quick, I want to scroll through some of these pictures. Random, just like plastic kits. We had this one, the C3PO we were talking about, weren't we? Like the last episode?
Yeah.
That this was the one that was in the case at Don's Hobby World. So that was there. We had some Sam Greenwell stuff. I saw that box up on top, and then they also had the pre-paint in the case. Lots of little things, like some newer stuff like the Cyclops, some older stuff like the Horizon Dracula stuff. They had some Screaming things in there. Lots of toys from everywhere. This creature from the Black Lagoon mask. There was and hundreds of cases is about where we were. So it takes a good while to go through there, but if you're in a hurry, you could probably do a rush lap throughout the whole thing and kind of see if there's something you're looking for. You had the Kong's Thronester, an SS helmet for Scott if he ever decides to join back up or do his Hogan's Hero cosplay.
I'm not the one that does Nazi porn.
But this, I'm not even kidding, was the most model kits I've ever seen in a place. And I actually even did find one Ral Partha miniature. The rarest things that I've only found one other antique toy shop that has had any sort of Dungeons and Dragons minis. And this place had one, and I ended up buying it. Lots of cool stuff. The one thing I did want to highlight is, where's the slide that has, all right, see the Thing resin model. So someone in there, I don't know if they were recast or if they're original. They have this Flintstone collector set.
I want to talk about that.
You do? All right, I'll come back to it. But they had this the thing with where he's holding the dog up. Is that the one?
Okay.
Dan Chrisley. And then this Metaluna mutant and this Elvira. The Elvira, I think, is Screaming. Is that mutant? That's not like $75, and I couldn't identify what it was. You see the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
And then they have these wind-up monsters and like this wind-up Kong. Really cool stuff. And this creature from the Black Lagoon head I could not identify. And I sent Scott a picture of it. So if anyone knows what that is, it's sitting in that toy mall. All right, back to the Flintstone set. Scott, what were you going to say?
So as a kid, my mom babysat these two girls that I still keep in contact with when we were in kindergarten, first grade, second grade. They're like sisters to me to this day.
Uh-huh.
And they had this Flintstone
really
set. Man, it was cool. It was cool. And Mark's actually re-released this when they did some re-releases but this does look like an original just based on the box.
Yeah.
But
And I couldn't see
it's
that.
cool. It
I
had the
took
little
this specifically
houses.
because I thought of you, but I couldn't see the price in the case.
Yeah, and the G.I. Joe stuff there is pretty vintage too.
Yeah.
So
No, this is a great place. So look it up when you
now
go
the
to
creature
Louisville.
head you're talking about. Is that the one that's in front of that mask? So what is that?
Yeah.
You did send that to me.
That's not
I don't
Rob's,
know. It
is
almost
it?
looks like an unpainted mask.
That's what yeah. Or it's a resin cast. It almost looks like it's cast from a mask.
Yeah. And
That's what I think it is.
Fun stuff.
Yeah. Cool place. Check it out. South Louisville Antique and Toy Mall was a great place. Really, really liked it.
Emails,
voicemails, and corrections. So we have 2 voicemails today. This first one, I'm just going to play it.
Hello, this number is no longer in service due to the content of frickin' frack wasting people's time. If you feel this number is in service or no longer in service, please call John or just call Jason or call anybody that really cares. Goodbye.
I don't know what that
I
is.
don't know.
I don't know. I'd like more information from that person if they would like to leave some. I don't know who that is. And then we have one that is Ghost of Tucky related, but not the Ghost of Tucky. Here we go.
Yes, you two, this is Lord Hate. I don't know how John Tucky got a hold of you and escaped his cell. He used my $300 a minute hotline phone to call you. I will make him suffer when I find him.
Good.
It's bad enough he listens to you. It's torture enough for me. I see you up there and I'm going, oh, I don't want you. But I do want Scott someday. I have a room reserved just for him.
You got your own room reserved, dude. That's awesome. So you're
going to hell way before me.
Oh,
okay.
No.
The things you've done in your life.
Yeah, dude. We got an actual phone call from the devil. That's pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, and John Tucky's really calling us. Yes.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Yes.
And there's Bigfoot in your backyard, right?
No, Bigfoot saw me, but nobody believes him.
Please, everyone, stay to the end of this episode when I ask the Bigfoot question to our guest.
My parents got me this in Yellowstone last week. She wasn't with you. She was with my real dad.
No, when she says Bigfoot to me, she's talking about something else.
All right, so we have some emails. No corrections. Any corrections from last episode?
Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. This one's already... We apologize to Mike because I've had so many technical issues and I'm just flustered now at this point. All right, is from Raymond LeGrant again. Hi, Jason. I've always disliked how static and lifeless models look after a build if you follow the instructions. So I've always added light to all my builds. I was especially dissatisfied with how rockets look in a kit and how dynamic they are in real life with exhaust flames, lights, etc. That is why I've added active flames and lights to my kits. I will expound further about the process and builds if you are interested, but here are a couple of the photos and examples. The flames are active and not static. I can send you some YouTube links if you are interested. Thanks, Raymond, for sending these pictures in. We have this first one here from... I'm just going to give a little tease, and I'm going to put the rest in the gallery. Yes, send me the YouTube links. And we'll put those in next episode, or put them in the info so everyone can see them. But here's a Doctor Strange with some light up fire that I think moves around. And I really like how he did the hands with some lights on there, too. That's pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. So check out the rest in the gallery. Gallery is very short this episode. We didn't get a lot sent in. So well done, Raymond LeGrant. Cool stuff. All right. This one's a little strange. Strange is how I had to do this. What'd you say? Still drinking?
Go ahead.
All right. From Mike Zizik. Was this kit you were talking about? Mask of the Red Death Phantom of the Opera resin model kit 1992 on eBay. He sent me a link to an eBay of that kit we were talking about last time. The Mask of the Red Death with David Horvath 2 episodes ago. Is that 2 episodes? Yeah, 2 episodes ago. And so I bid on it, and I was outbid and lost yesterday. When's the last time you bid on something on eBay? Like bid, not bought, not buy it now, but bid. It has been a long time since I bid on anything on eBay.
I think that airplane I got. That
airplane you got? Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm not the only one. I was wondering. I'd like to hear what other people think. Do people still do a lot of eBay shopping when it comes to model kits? Or has it become so saturated with recasts, anime kits, and is it hard to find? Like, I would never have even thought to go to eBay to look for this kit these days. I was just kind of wait to see what people post on Facebook.
I don't.
And I've gotten so burned as a seller that I don't even want to sell things on eBay anymore. Am I the only one? Is my question. Man, you're drinking a lot. What is that? Vodka? What are you doing?
Boy, if it was vodka, this would be a show. I'll tell you that. So I bid recently, and all I can say is, it's pretty much the same. I mean, people snipe at the end. I mean, there's no doubt about that. If you really want something, you better be there at the end of the auction, or you just put in what your max is and hope no one outbids you.
That's kind of what I did on this, and it went for $10 over my max, and I was like, son of a bitch. But
yeah, and if you'd have been there at the end and you got your thing, but who knows? Maybe someone else maxed out.
Yeah.
And they might have maxed out more than $10 ahead of you, but that's all it needed to beat you. So it's. I don't go to eBay for kits anymore because there's nothing I'm looking for anymore.
Remember when it was like the only way to get kits? Not the only, but it was like I would go every day and check eBay every day, type in future, type in certain things that I would go looking for every day to try and get something. And now I haven't looked at eBay in years for a model.
But it was small. It was small. So.
Remember when you could find GUNS on there? You could buy those on eBay, the original days.
So when I originally started, I would do like resin kit, resin model, garage kit, and you search and you get some overlapping finds, but it wasn't a big deal because you'd maybe get 3 pages of them.
Right.
Okay. And I remember searching King Kong, and there were maybe 300 hits. Okay. So I don't know what you'd find.
Terms. What are your normal search terms?
Try resin model.
Resin model. Model kit. Resin model kit returns. Want to take a guess?
2,000.
110,000 plus results. And that's my point. Like, I'm not going to. And just on this first page, it's a lot of prints and a lot of naked anime chicks. And yeah, that's my problem with eBay. And who knows where those come from? Who knows if they're like, I just don't like buying on there anymore, ever.
Well, there's a lot of 3D printed stuff on there, and they're most likely not compensating the original artists.
Right.
And we've talked about that till we're blue in the face, and I'm sure this won't be the last time I mention it. So
then the rest of his email, we corresponded after that a little bit. And then the last thing he just sent. Okay, so I was watching some YouTube videos on different things and then rewatched your wet palette video again a little more carefully. I bought an inexpensive one and wanted to be sure I was going about things correctly. In the review, you said you kept getting mold in there, even after different copper inserts. Are you using distilled water or another source? I wonder if the water has impurities that are reacting. Just a thought. I'm hoping to avoid mold. Nasty stuff. So stop right there for a second. Yes, I think I found the solution. And so Game Envy, with their recent update to their wet palette, wasn't really an update to their wet palette. It was an update to something they put out for their wet palette. And it is these, I don't know if you can see them in the corner. 1, 2, 3, 4. They have these copper corner weights. And I have had this thing wet now for a month or more. And I think I've only opened it twice. And there is no mold. 0. And I have been using, the water I was using is out of the dehumidifier. So technically it's kind of distilled. I was using tap water. I've used all kinds of things, and I always get mold. And I think it's because I'm in this basement and there's probably already mold down here. But those copper weights from Game Envy seem to have helped. I think there's a link somewhere. They may still be part of that Kickstarter. I don't know if they're available yet, but I love those copper weights. They seem to have done the trick. Because the little copper sticker that has come with some of them hasn't worked. There's been.
So can you buy those separate?
Yeah, you can. I bought them separate. So I bought those separately at Adepticon. They're like an add-on piece for it. But I've tried like copper wire. I've tried pennies. I've tried all that. And these seem to actually have done the trick. So we'll see that. In another video, Scott said he took a painting class from David Fisher, but never finished it. I say finish the paint job so that you can say you co-painted a kit with David Fisher. Talk about bragging rights. True. And then he said,
Dave to feel bad.
Updates on your mask making, or is that a project that just never took off? And Jamie brought it up the other day. She bought it for me for my birthday a couple years ago. I still want to do the masks. It's just this takes up every bit of my free time that I have. So we're there. Whew. All right. From Mike Ziamba. Hello, Jason and Scott. Just a quick update on Jersey Fest this past weekend. We have a correspondent. I took Sal's painting class and he did not disappoint. He gave a lot of tips on the use of the airbrush and also showed us how he does eyes. That was worth the price of admission alone. While I didn't quite master the use of the double action airbrush, I now know what it is capable of with a bit of practice. In addition to the tips each attendee left with, the Dracula model from Blackheart Models, a compressor, an airbrush, paints, and some brushes. A great deal for $350 to attend the class. That is a great deal. And if you don't have an airbrush or you're in the need for a compressor, I highly suggest taking the class just to get the materials alone when he does offer those. The dealer room was pretty active on Saturday morning, but I can't say it was packed with attendees. Part of it could have been the crappy weather, which may have kept some people away. I purchased the kit from Pestilence Labs, Saul Alvarez, Gilman, Blackheart, Swiss Stack, and a few others, so I did make a pretty good contribution to the hobby. There are quite a few dealers selling some older kits, and there was one dealer selling 3D kit. The model contest room, at least when I left around noon, was okay, but certainly not on the level of Wonderfest. Hopefully someone took pictures and will either post them on Facebook or YouTube. Thanks again for staying the course with Model Club TV's Mike. So, it touched on what we heard too a little bit, I think. I think sales were up. Crowd might not have been as big, but it's growing. It's going to get there. Hopefully, they do it again. And then, any comments there before I go to the last email?
No, you go.
Okay.
You go.
From Logan Torres, Scott's best friend. He thinks this would be a good subject to talk about. Badly engineered model kit. Bad seams, bad casting, resin from the grave, or other mishaps. Like Revel's Dragonheart, what a friggin' joke, and how badly seamed it was. The Jersey Devil by Barker's Brothers, bad seam joining the wings to the back. So yeah, I'd love to hear people's horror stories. Send them in. I'd love to read them. What's your most, I know you don't build a lot. Do you have a horror story on a kit?
Yeah.
Really?
Something I have built. I have not painted it yet. The vinyl Janus Dracula.
Really? I've done that. Yeah.
Okay, so the way the cape goes together and the way the one piece kind of has a lip, so you think you need to sculpt it so the one piece will go over the lip and meet the other one, but that's not so. You almost have to cut them like this so when they meet,
yeah,
they meet like that. And I remember the gal I was dating at the time helped me do this because what was happening is I was holding it together and she would hit it with the super glue and spray the kicker and then go down a little bit. Okay. And I ran a trail of super glue all the way down that thing and then sanded it smooth. And it was a nightmare. Now, and then the way the inside of the cape, the upper torso fit inside of that. And you had to seam all of that. And I remember, you weren't going to get a tight seam, but, you did want a seam. You wanted to get the crack out of it. And you have one of those sculpting tools that looks like a little reflex hammer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I remember using that to kind of push the putty into the thing and kind of smooth it out. And I got it, but oh my God, what a nightmare that thing was. And then
Yeah.
I ended up, I had filled it, and then I did paint it at one time. I went to strip it, and all the foam that was on the inside started to dissolve. And it was just a mess. So it was like, and again, this is early on learning. So I had to go in there and putty where the arms went to putty that upper torso piece, so that what I ended up doing is when I did the bottom. No, I didn't do the bottom. I did the top first. I turned it upside down and I filled it with resin and I put a steel rod in it. Okay. And then I filled the legs with resin. And I took this piece and set it on top of there because it was a good fit and let that resin cured. And I was able to pull it apart. So it's still like that. The rod's in there that I can put it together, like that. There's the rod there and stuff. But, just what a nightmare that cape was.
Do you think
so? As far as a vinyl kit goes, that's
well, that's what I was going to say. Do you think as resin nightmares, or not resin nightmares, but model kit nightmares go, do you think there were more that were vinyl or more that were resin? And I'm not talking, because bad casting. I'm talking building. When it comes to building kits.
Look at that Wrights and Frankenstein, man.
It's vinyl, man. Like vinyl, that Inaleg Spawn was one of the hard, that cape was stupid. It just didn't, like the way it was supposed to go. Like I remember that being a disaster trying to get that thing to work. And then the geometric pumpkin head with the wings, trying to get that thing to work out right. And then it just never, all those vinyl kits with the really weak ankles, basically, where it's just so everything sags. And as far as resin, Netherworld, man, talk about casting issues. That was Netherworld, and they had some of the best kits of all time, but some of the hardest kits to make look good. Like that Dr. Chenard, the base is one part of the puzzle box, and there was an offset of like an inch that you had to somehow make it look right, and it just never looked right. It was, and the resin boogers and all, like, oh man, but that's where
resin from the grave kits are.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would put a Netherworld up against a resin from the grave any day. That would be a hard contest. But yeah, send us your horror stories. Hardest kit you ever built, biggest pain in the ass, the hardest vinyl kit, hardest resin kit, worst kit you ever put together. That Faust kit I talked about last week was a pain in the ass. But
so how was that Operation in Progress? Was that hard to put together?
No, not at all. And that's the great thing about future kits. They went together like a breeze. Like they're amazingly engineered well.
I did a Polar Lights Mummy's Chariot for someone that I actually
all those Chariot kits suck.
And none of the seams matched up on the Mummy. And so I ended up building it for this guy for free because it was a friend of mine. And he was really happy with it. I'm glad he was happy with it because all I charged him for was like $50.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad you were happy with it. But yeah, so I'm gonna go on record right now and say fuck styrene. Okay. But it sucks.
It depends. I think it depends on when that styrene kit was built or manufactured. Because there's some really good, I want to take that back. There are some really well engineered kits these days. I know just coming from the Warhammer side of things and some of these newer model kits that, yeah, you still get seams and weird stuff, but I think things these days are a lot better when it comes to plastic. But those old plastic, I'm trying to think I wonder if anyone ever threw a kit out and just said, forget it. I'm not doing it. Like, it's not even worth it.
Yes.
What was it? Like, I'm trying to, like, I know I've done it.
Actually, I haven't thrown it out, but I'm going to it someday.
Yeah.
The geometric Locutus of Borg. Okay, but again, this was an early outing. And to try to seam the arm and match the texture. I didn't do bad because you know what I was able to do? This is kind of funny. Took my t-shirt and I pressed my t-shirt texture against it. And it really matched.
Yeah. No,
I wonder if the original sculpt, if that's not what they did.
Well, that's one of those where if you made a latex texture stamp, you could probably do it. But yeah, that would work. I've done that before. Used like,
but again, that was early on. So,
man, I think if by next episode, I could probably come up with a better list of things I've built. That's the show, everybody. Really short gallery here at the end. We have a little Bigfoot Bigfoot tidbit from Michael Berglund. Scott, what do you say to everybody? He's not even paying attention. We're still doing the show, you know.
Oh, we on? Okay.
Yeah, say goodbye, Scott.
Goodbye, Scott.
Bye, everyone. See you next time. All right, Scott, ask your question again.
All right, Mike, before you go, I got to ask one more question. Do you think Bigfoot's real?
No. And I'll tell you why. So I hang out with paleontologists and some scientists, and someone once explained to me the real reason why it can't be true, because you would need a breeding population. In other words, there have to be enough Bigfoots out there to survive their own tripping and falling in a stream, and they have to be able to breed and have kids. And that means you can't have onesie twosie Bigfoots out there. There has to be a base level of animal to exist, and it has to exist somewhere on the food chain. So onesie twosie Bigfoots wouldn't be possible unless they magically eat air molecules or some other such thing that a Bigfoot person.
Maybe they're immaculate Bigfoot conception.
That convinced me at that time. It's like that's why they can't be.
I think we want it to be true, like the Loch Ness Monster. For years, I wanted that to be true, but
I want those silly Mexican aliens to be true, but they're not.
Oh, Jason believes in the aliens too.
No. He's talking about something different. No. Scott's not up on current events. So
the new Mexican aliens.
Scott has no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
The paper mache aliens that got brought out by Jaime
those.
Maussan.
Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah. Paper mache aliens. Yeah.
I would love any of that stuff to be true, but I'm highly skeptical of all of it, and that's why there is no Bigfoot. I'm sorry, kids. You know,
Thank you, Michael Berglund. The
I'm
final
driving
word, as far as I'm
away from
concerned.
your podcast.
This is
They're
the
like,
final
"I'm
word
out."
on this. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Doesn't sound very enthusiastic.
I'm never enthusiastic.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode.
What the fuck was that?
I don't know. I don't know what I was doing.
Karate Kid.
I had my hand on the table here, and then wax on. Who knows?